Aero-News Network's coverage of the 64th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Dallas, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Pilot Communications USA is proud to introduce our latest headsets, the Carbon A1 Active Noise Reduction and the Carbon P1 Passive headset. Carbon fiber makes our headsets 30% lighter than others, which significantly reduces pilot fatigue. Our BlueLink hand control unit allows you to connect two devices at the same time, and the record out capability can send audio to an onboard camera or digital recorder. Get the headset that's so light you may forget you're wearing one at pilot-usa.com.
Aviation's #1 safety equipment manufacturer. New ELTs and safety products that activate life-saving rescues across the world. ELTs and safety products for every type of aircraft. General aviation, business jet, rotorcraft, commercial aircraft. Easy installation, affordable pricing, safety and reliability. Visit www.artex.com to view our selection of ELTs and safety products today. Artex, your best last chance.
Alrighty, folks, good grief. It's been, what, 2 years? This is the 2021 AEA Convention and Trade Show, live from Dallas, Texas. We were supposed to see you, well, like in 2020 and then earlier in 2021, but guess what? We made it, everything's going well. There is a sense of optimism, there's a sense of survival, there's a sense of, okay, time to get back to business. And speaking of which, we're introducing here Todd Winter and Jeff Seitz from Mid-Continent, who have been one after another. If it's not lithium, or if it's not flex, or if it's not the USB devices and so forth and so on, they're always introducing something new. Todd, best of all, what's new for Mid-Continent for 2021?
Well, it's great to see you. And yeah, we really never stopped. We were very careful, but we kept our development team rolling. And at this show, we announced 10 new products. 5 of which are clocks.
I mean, come on. What were you doing?
Well,
I mean, going on vacations?
I'm paying those guys. They gotta, we look for those opportunities, those overlooked opportunities where, we say this is an important thing for aviation, but nothing has been improved. And the example would be the clocks. Now, we've been building clocks for many years, Piper and Mooney and Cessna, etc. And lots of people have broken clocks or whatever. So we started doing a digital clock with the USB built into the clock. It's like, okay, so it's a double gain. Take out that old clock that you don't like, and you get a USB charger, a True Blue Power USB type charger in one package. So we decided it was so successful, we decided to double down, and we came out with 5 new versions. And what I like the most about it is when pilots put them in, they say, I really like that clock. I like the display, I like the buttons, and yes, they like the functionality, and we've added a lot of functionality. So obviously it's a clock. We have multiple options for USB. So we got Type A, we got Type C, and we have the latest, greatest, which is called PD, power delivery. Basically, it will charge your devices, including a laptop, faster than anything else. And you can either get it as a separate USB or you can get it in one of our clocks. So the thing to remember would be Chronos. So to make it easier for people to remember, we call it Chronos. So go online to Mid-Continent Instrument, mcico.com, and check out the clocks. You're gonna love them if you put it in your airplane, and if you're working to charge your iPad, etc., it's exactly what you need. It's a great solution.
Well,
so that's one of the things that we have.
What's interesting is the clock is one of these overlooked things in aviation that you never really pay attention to until you need it. And then you take a look at these World War II seeming clocks that have been installed in every elder generation GA airplane, never upgraded. I mean, nobody thinks about it.
Yes. How
until
many people
you need
have a bad clock?
I mean,
exactly.
We're still timing approaches. We're still doing a lot of things that are time dependent. And then, of course, you're trying to figure, okay, Zulu, local, what? You know, come on. It becomes more confusing by the day, but the fact of the matter is aviation lives by the second.
It does. And time and navigation goes back to the beginning, right? In Greenwich, when the ships would synchronize their clocks to the bell towers so they could literally navigate the oceans. So that's one of the big things. The other thing, which interestingly enough can work as a clock, a GPS clock, we have a new product we call Flex.
We call it the Heinz 57.
Heinz 57.
I mean,
okay.
One question
There's
first.
at least
Before you
that
start,
many versions.
what can it not do?
That is a good question. What can it not do? It can't make coffee.
You sucker.
We can't make coffee.
Again, he's just.
But it could help you make coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
It could help you make coffee. Yeah, we call it a flex gauge. So it's actually about the same size as our clocks, standard 2 1/4 cutout. Well, here's one right here. Yeah, right. A picture is worth 1,000 words. This one is actually showing a configuration that one of our launch customers chose as a 2-inch altimeter, but instead of being I'm going to call it an antique analog device that's about this long or this long and costs $10,000 to repair, it's actually, look at this side view, it's only that thick, and it can be, it's hard to explain. It can be a digital repeater instrument. It can replace something like the oil temp oil pressure gauge. What are some of the other applications that you found interest in? I mean, there's
and keep in mind we've only got 20
hundreds,
minutes.
hundreds, exactly.
Yeah, what we've noticed is that the applications are sort of starting to divide into 2 broad categories, and one would be, as Todd mentioned, if somebody has an instrument or a gauge that is no longer manufactured, or it's difficult to find repair and support for that gauge or that instrument, it becomes a lot more cost effective to replace that instrument with a modern digital version of that instrument.
Right.
The other broad category that we're seeing a lot of interest in are unique, maybe what I would call one-off type of instruments, that somebody has a very specific application and they maybe need to have that application in one aircraft. And so if you wanted to have a clean sheet design of a specialty gauge that you were only going to need to buy one of, you can imagine that the development cost and the development time of something like that
That's true.
would very lengthy and very expensive.
Yeah.
Where we've cut out roughly half of the development time because we've already built and certified the hardware, and then all we need to do is write the configuration file that turns this hardware into that specialty gauge. A quick example I can give you really quickly, we had one customer who called us a helicopter operator, and they were wondering if there was any way that we could display the amount of line on their winch that was paid out, so that the pilot would know, how much of my cable is below the helicopter. And we said, if your winch has the ability to send that information to us, the data, then we can display it on this instrument. So that's an example. That's, you can't find a COTS cable length display out there anywhere in the
suspended line
marketplace.
operations, I can tell you from experience, I mean, eyeballing it is not a whole lot of fun.
Not a whole lot of fun.
You're trying to keep everything level and looking,
Could be serious.
Back to flying.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
I would probably add, this is a level A certified piece of hardware. So it's not going to go into just, like my Mooney or my 172. Normally it would be for a program where somebody said, hey, we've got a King Air STC, we want to replace all the gauges, or we want to replace all the instruments in our Conquest, or in our Citation, we've always had trouble with this one product. So typically the investment would require something like that. But you're right, it's a streamlined approach, so it can be done very quickly, and at the end of the day, it can solve problems in a very effective way for somebody who needs information in the cockpit, digital, analog, and it's a controller with a knob, so it has a lot of functionality. Again, it is hard to explain, but for professionals, I would encourage you to look up Flex, go out there and check about Flex. We've had a lot of interest and a lot of press coverage on it, and people are thinking of some very interesting ways to use it, and again, Jeff is the Flexpert. He knows that product line, so you could contact him too and have some discussion.
So basically with the right programming and the right sensors, you can do anything.
If the sensor uses AirInc 429 or analog discrete voltage signals, we can do just about anything with it. It also actually has frequency sensor capability as well, so we can be a tachometer, and a thermocouple as well, so we can do temperature.
Temperatures, pressure, and it looks great. It is 2 1/4 inch, but the graphics are amazing. Talk about HD. It's super useful. So it can be
sharp.
It can be multi-page, multi-display on one product. So yeah, very excited about that. You'll see those popping up in a lot of very specific applications, usually with an STC, most likely connected to it. So yeah, that's been a big one. And I love batteries. Lithium batteries. So again, True Blue Power, we're the first ones. We are delivering, and we have OEMs like Bell and Cirrus and Tecnam and Robinson Helicopter and Textron putting our batteries into brand new aircraft, delivering those to you. So we said, okay, let's push the limits. We've got our fifth generation of these batteries, doing it for like 11 years. And we said, let's do a 60 amp hour lithium battery, which no one would normally do because it would weigh an incredible amount. But ours saves approximately 68 pounds off of a comparable battery. And you get all these amazing benefits that we demand from batteries today. It is the modern technology. Definitely what you want.
I remember the session we had when you were first announcing True Blue Power. And of course, this is at a time when lithium, the word, sparked all kinds of responses and not necessarily good ones.
Right.
And you had an extraordinary job on your hand to educate the industry that, lithium, many flavors,
right?
Many technologies, and been doing this a while and you guys are getting it right.
Yeah.
But you've grown from that and built up something extraordinary here in that you've turned around all of the negative imagery, you've proven the batteries in the field, and it has become almost a default now when people are looking for knocking off weight, adding power, adding capabilities. Some of the folks in the cold areas and so forth and so on are really I mean, they're in
Yeah.
love with you guys. They're ready to have your children.
Yeah, the
I mean, it's a big
utility
deal.
is amazing with the batteries. And again, you know, it's been vetted by some of the best manufacturers in the world. Textron, Pilatus. I mean, talk about picky. They're great people.
Yeah.
Their aircraft are amazing. You know, we have proven safety is not a concern. If anything, our batteries are more safe because they're more reliable in an emergency situation. And many customers, that's one of the primary reasons that they use these. But the utility is amazing. It's definitely safe. You know, it's the kind of thing that when you operate an aircraft, you're gonna love that product. You're gonna get a faster engine start. It's going to be more reliable. All the things that you want when you fly. You want reliability, dependability. You don't really care what kind of a battery it is. You want it to work great. And that's what these do.
Nobody wants the details, they want the results.
Exactly. Utility.
And, you know, when you're in your third hot start in the morning,
Yeah. And the
Or-
boss is ready to go.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, and oh yeah, let's get the air up and everything else
Yeah.
as quick as it can and so forth and so on. The older technologies have not held up, and it's kind of surprising. You would have expected a lot of investment because they know the job, they haven't, and there's been an opportunity for you to come in and swoop in, and well, you swooped in. What's next for True Blue Power? What are we going to see in terms of lithium battery development?
Well, now that the lithium batteries are literally becoming standard equipment on new aircraft, there are certain STCs coming to market. So depending on the type of aircraft, of course, helicopters really love these types of batteries with a reduced weight. So you'll
Well, I gotta tell
probably
you,
see
if
more
I can interrupt
availability.
for just a second.
Certainly.
Getting into Robinson, Frank was a dear friend and worked with him and Barbara for years, and
Yes.
I know, and Kurt is a great guy, but Robinson is the epitome of prove it to me again.
You're right.
Prove it to me 3 times, and then we'll talk to you in 5 years.
And then we'll fly it for a year or
Oh,
two, and then,
But
yeah, which is good.
bagging Robinson was a biggie. That personally impressed me because I know what Kurt is like out there.
Yeah.
And he was impressed. He said, wow, that's a really energetic engine start. And they needed that. With the turbine engines, it really, really shines. So probably some more STCs, and then again, when you unlock new technology, and you know, lithium batteries are in everything that you use. I know you guys use a ton of them, right? In many devices.
You may not be wrong about the ton comment, but yeah.
Okay. And you wouldn't accept any other technology, right? You just
Not at
wouldn't
this point.
accept it. So now we can do unique configurations, even different voltages, like 320 volts. You know, all these newer vehicles, unmanned aerial vehicles, require this kind of technology. They can't use anything else. Higher voltages to reduce weight on board the aircraft, so you got smaller lines and things like that. So really, similar to automotive, and unfortunately we lag automotive a little bit, but similar to automotive, we will be doubling down on this technology as an industry and using it in all kinds of applications that make flying safer, better, and more convenient and more reliable, and reducing weight and carbon emissions as well. Obviously, that's a big part of it. We've got to be more sustainable, and this is an easy way to make a step in that direction. And the more electric aircraft in general, but it's a big part of it.
How's the certification environment changed over the last few years as you've proved yourself?
It's definitely streamlined. You know, we have not had big issues with that. It's been a little bit more work because it's just supplying a lot of data and information, validation, and as you know, we take the high road. So we completely support that. So we're really seeing it start to streamline, and I expect it to get, I'm going to say, even easier, more standardized for both FAA and EASA within the next even year or so. So it's really not difficult. By far, the benefits outweigh the additional time and cost. It's really no longer new and novel. So it's becoming much more standardized, and I think we're just, now that last year was an unusual year, so now that we've got that behind us, I think we'll find a nice little tipping point there where it will be more streamlined and more people will take advantage. And we'll be making more announcements of customers who are using it, and I'm really impressed, but I'm just glad to be a part of helping a new technology really come into aviation in general, general aviation and otherwise.
Final question for both of you gentlemen, and I'm going to ask this to everybody here today and tomorrow, because I think it's a question we all got to be looking at. We've had an interesting year. Affected our industry, affected people we cared about, affected the nation, the world, what have you. How has this changed the staff of Mid-Continent and True Blue Power? What does this do to your company and your outlook for the future and the way you do business within a community that's raring to go?
Do you want to throw something at that?
Yeah, I think my personal takeaway from this past year was one of encouragement to see how the team at Mid-Continent Instruments and Avionics and True Blue Power came together to figure out, okay, like Todd said, we didn't stand still. We had to find some ways to keep going, keep in touch with our customers, keep accomplishing the things that our customers needed us to accomplish, even while we didn't have business travel available to us. We didn't have, for a period of time, we couldn't all be in the same office building. And what was encouraging to me was the way we were able to find a way to use new technology, Microsoft Teams or Zoom, use new technologies to find a way to get it done and keep moving forward. And as difficult as the time was, we didn't let it stop us. And that, to see that happen, to see everybody come together and say, we're not going to let this stop us, we're going to figure out a way to get it done, with the leadership of our company out front saying, setting that guiding, that North Star, that these are our values, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to respond. That tells me no matter whatever the next big thing that affects the world looks like, we're going to find a way through it, and that was encouraging.
Yeah, we took it on pretty easy. Obviously, there were some issues, but it really didn't hurt us too bad. Again, our people are the key. We've got great people, and we took good care of our people, and our customers saw no impact. I mean, we were there for everybody. But the other thing, it gave us a chance to really think about the way society has changed, and the way that people consume, the way you get information about products, the way that you shop for products, the way that you make a decision, the way that you make a decision on how you're going to use aviation or not use aviation. So we spent a lot of time thinking about that and what we need to do this year and over the next 2 years to really dial into how society has changed, how the way consumers are changing things, so we can really be efficient and effective at that as well too. So I'd say the combination of those, getting past the short-term situation, but really focusing on what's it going to take in the long term to do it well, and do it right.
Outstanding. Jeff Seitz, Todd Winter of Mid-Continent Instruments and Avionics, and of course True Blue Power. We thank you much for joining us. First off the bat here at AEA 2021, Dallas, Texas at the Hilton Anatole. And we'll be right back in just a few minutes. We are live. We're at the Aero-News Network at AEA 2021. See you in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Jim.
Alrighty, folks, we are back at AEA 2021, the great year after the interruption. As we had noted before, we were all excited after the end of 2019 to roar into a great year, and well, it's been an interesting couple of years. But the fact of the matter is the industry is back, it's back strong, and more important than anything else, it seems ready for the future. We're happy to be introducing Tom Harper of Avidyne today. Tom, you and I have been doing this off and on for quite a few years.
Quite a few.
But Avidyne is certainly on the march in some interesting areas. A couple of years ago, citation who, what? Yep. Now all of a sudden you guys are all over the place. Yep. Tell me what's the latest and greatest at Avidyne.
Well, we've had, again, a challenging last 12, 14 months, and managed to come through that in shining colors. We've spent a lot of time innovating, developing new products, certifying new products. So we've, at the AEA here this show, we've announced our Skytrax 200, which is a new dual band ADS-B receiver that will work well with all of our IFD products. We've certified Atlas, which we had previously announced, so we got our TSO and STC in a Citation 560. We've got TSO on our Helios, which is our helicopter flight management system. Mm-hmm. And we've added an interactive install manual for our dealers, which is a really innovative new tool for troubleshooting. And we've really seen a dramatic improvement in, or a reduction in the number of dealer calls to our product support team, because they're able to use the interactive install manual and watch these little short video snippets and get the information they need 24/7. They might be out at the airplane on a Friday night or over the weekend. So that's been really helpful. And we've also done an Avidyne Academy, which is a 10-module training syllabus that dealers can do online. So we've been very busy. At the show, we're also showing our 10.3 software, which is the next release that's nearing certification.
Well, I'll tell you what, you didn't let the last year slide by, that's
Not
for
at
sure. In terms of your position in the industry, it's been interesting watching kind of juggling for primacy a little bit, and Avidyne is certainly coming back strong from the worst of the pandemic and all, but where do you see your positioning for the future? What areas are you most interested in, and more important, what areas seem most interested in you?
Well, let's say we've got a lot of growth into Part 25. Mm-hmm. Helicopters is a big opportunity. A lot of the fleets and military opportunities that go along with that. The IFD is strong as ever in the aftermarket. Mm-hmm. And again, we're adding new features with our software releases, and we're not charging for those software releases. Those are coming along, so folks that bought the 540 5 years ago have seen the addition of synthetic vision, wireless capability, and now we're adding visual approaches and en route VNAV and things like that. So they're getting a lot of value from Avidyne, and that's kind of where we're moving and adding new products to the product line and continuing to grow. So you'll see a lot more of that as we move forward.
The Avidyne position on GA as it stands right now, where is your greatest interest? And I know where you've come from and how competitive certain aspects of that have been, but what can we see in that regard, especially with the 500 series really giving who a run for their money?
Yeah, it's, for a long time there was only really one player in the GPS world, and now there are two. There are two options, and the reason there's only two is because it's really difficult to make an IFR quality GPS FMS. And we've done really well in that market. We've carved a niche.
What you've done really well is just the interface.
Yeah, and the fact that,
with all due respect to everything else out there, what is used and usable are two different things.
Yes.
And this is where the 500 series just really knocked it out of the park.
And we took a lot of what we learned with the development of R9, and the Integra R9 integrated flight deck was built around how can we make it easier to use. What can we do to make it easier for the pilot? Maybe if you haven't flown in 30 days, you're not reaching for the manual every time you want to try a new operation. It's intuitive.
Thank God for that.
Right. Yeah. So that we migrated all that usability into the IFD series, and now we've continued to add new features. So that's always been our focus, And we've got a huge installed base of the Integra 1 Cirruses, Pipers, Lancers, a really good installed base, and now a lot of those folks that may have had the older Navigators are moving into the new IFDs. So there's a community there, plus the full aftermarket.
Well, jumping from there to business jets and so forth, how difficult has it been to get your toe in there? Because that's where there's multiple competitors who have been there since God wore sneakers.
Yes.
And frankly, somebody new comes along and they kind of look at you and go, who the heck are you?
Yeah.
I mean, why should we listen to you? Why should we do anything?
Right.
And that you came out of the park pretty strong.
Yeah. And the way we did that is we found a niche. And the Atlas is really designed to meet a need that's not currently being met in the market. There's a lot of the Part 25 jets. Of course, the newer ones are all fully integrated flight decks. Some of the aging flight decks are the federated, but they're big glass, but they don't, in many cases, have a path to WAS or to ADS-B without a lot of surgery and a lot of big dollars. So we thought, well, what if we can take the IFD technology, put that into Part 25, and do some of the conversion, if you will, to talk to these legacy flight decks without having to spend 6 figures on upgrading the flight deck or more.
Yep.
And now we can pop those in place and have a fully WAS ADS-B solution to extend the life of these Part 25 airplanes for another 10 to 20 years.
And the operators are thrilled, believe me, because airplanes and replacement airframes are not getting any cheaper.
Right.
Not going to happen. Tell me about the helicopter market. As a helicopter pilot, as somebody who's worked in the industry, the demands in that industry are unique.
Yep.
They're tough. They do not back down.
Right.
I mean, real simple. You meet a standard or you don't do business.
Yep.
How did you educate yourself in that market? And more important, what is the feedback you're getting teaching you about where the helicopter and vertical industry is going?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of opportunity there, certainly. Things we had to learn, of course there's, radar altitude mandates in the EMS world. So we're adding a radar altitude display to the IFDs in this new release. We've added power line databases to our database, to our displays.
Oh,
so for
thank you, Lord.
Low, yeah, right.
Or Dan.
Yeah. So that 3 arc second terrain data versus the standard 9 arc second, so it's much higher resolution terrain. Again, really helpful at low altitudes. At Heli Expo a year ago, right before the pandemic, we heard from some of the firefighting community that they wanted the zoom on the map range to go down to a half mile because they want to be able to put waypoints out where the fires are, and some of them are really close, so this gives them the ability to do that. So we've really listened and tried to plug those kind of features right into the product and turn it quickly. So it's the helicopter market is very interesting to us, and we've done a lot of things to address their needs.
If I'm not speaking out of turn, your experience in vertical lift has to be weighing on your mind as you watch the autonomous industry build. Yeah. UAM is out of control. It's exploding. Yeah. And granted, 90% of it is hot air and bleed air, as the case may be. But you have to be looking at this with great interest, and especially with the technology you're developing,
right?
Because the transfer on this could be huge.
That's right, and it's not just unmanned; it's eVTOL, right?
Yeah.
There's these. There's a lot of opportunities.
Which might as well be unmanned the way they're going to set up the automation.
Automation is a huge part of it, and we're very plugged into that. There's literally hundreds of these grassroots companies popping up, and the VC money's pouring in to see if we can make some of those happen. And usually, as we know what happens, 2 or 3 or 4 of them might survive, maybe 2 even, but
that's all it's going to take.
That's all it's going to take, and it's going to set a new trend. So we're very plugged into that with some of the products that we're developing for display technology, for safety sensor technology, to help that come to fruition.
Outstanding. I've been asking the folks who are up here before, and I'm going to be asking everybody here today, how did Avidyne get through this past year? And more important, what lessons have you learned that will be affecting how you do business in this community and throughout the aviation world from here on out?
Yeah, well, we were all taken by surprise by it, and I have to say, as a management team, the leadership was very proactive in giving people time off when they needed it. If you thought you were feeling sick, stay home. We really invested in remote access technology, so the Zoom and GoToMeeting and that sort of thing, so people could work remotely that could. Those that were in the factory, we split the shifts so that we could spread people out. There was at one point during mid-year last year where we built some inventory up and closed the factory, what we scheduled for 4 weeks. But the demand was surprisingly there that we had to pull people back in after 2 weeks. So we were pleasantly surprised, and we attribute some of that to the fact that people couldn't go anywhere in their airplanes. Everything was closed. So people decided to put their airplanes down and go ahead and do some of that work that they had been putting off.
Oh, the shops were
very busy.
in places. They really were.
So
it was amazing.
Obviously the tough part of it is those shops that had to downsize, now they're feeling the pain of having to recover that labor. The labor pool is dispersed, and so that's been a challenge as we move back into the post-COVID world. But Avidyne did a great job navigating through that. We never had to lay anybody off. We had a temporary furlough, and now everybody's back to work, and we've kept busy and we've kept innovating. And we also opened our new hangar facility out at Melbourne Airport in Florida, so that we're doing
where they've got a little bit more space to
a little more elbow room.
Yeah.
So it's been great.
My goodness, I'll be darned. All righty. Well, ultimately, with Oshkosh barely a month off, which is expected to be a barn burner. I mean, they're all talking about record advanced ticket sales. I can tell you from our consults with Sun and Fun, they had a number of records set, especially Saturday. We're hoping that Oshkosh and AUVSI thereafter set records again and give the industry the jump start it needs to be able to look forward, feel confident in looking forward, and get on with the business of getting people from point A to point B, getting cargo from point A to point B, and moving this country.
That's right.
So obviously you guys will be a part of it. As a past happy customer with the R9 system in my airplane that shall remain nameless, and the fact that that was just one of the most adaptive systems I've ever flown, because I'd have to make a Miami run, do something, and they would switch approaches on you at the last moment. In Brand G, that's all kinds of steps and twists and this and that. And R9, sure, no problem, bring it on, buddy. Want to do it again?
You're right.
It was fun. And you did marvelous work on that. It was inspired.
And all of that's migrated to our current IFDs. So
it's all about the you got to have the capabilities, yes, but it's about the interface.
Yes, it really
Make it
is.
easy, make it workable. You guys do good in that regard.
Yeah, thank you.
Tom, thanks so much for everything.
It's a pleasure.
And
as
once
always.
again, we are going to take a short break. We've got some interesting people on deck. I think Aspen is coming up here in a minute, and we're looking forward to spending a little bit of time with Scott Smith. So from the Aero-News Network temporary headquarters at the Hilton Anatole in Dallas, Texas, this is AEA 2021. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 64th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Dallas, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
aviation's #1 safety equipment manufacturer. New ELTs and safety products that activate life-saving rescues across the world. ELTs and safety products for every type of aircraft. General aviation, business jet, rotorcraft, commercial aircraft. Easy installation, affordable pricing, safety and reliability. Visit www.artex.com to view our selection of ELTs and safety products today. Artex, your best last chance.
Pilot Communications USA is proud to introduce our latest headsets, the Carbon A1 Active Noise Reduction and the Carbon P1 Passive Headset. Carbon fiber makes our headsets 30% lighter than others, which significantly reduces pilot fatigue. Our BlueLink hand control unit allows you to connect 2 devices at the same time, and the record out capability can send audio to an onboard camera or digital recorder. Get the headset that's so light you may forget you're wearing one at pilot-usa.com.
Here we go, folks. We are third victim of the day, or actually fourth victim because we had 2 at once in the beginning. So Scott Smith and Aspen Avionics were here to find out the latest, the greatest, the cool stuff, the nitty gritty, and all the stuff we're not supposed to know, but you're going to tell us, right?
I'm going to try.
Yeah,
I'm going to try, Jim.
We'll see. First of all, let's start with the obvious. What's new at Aspen?
So some really cool new stuff that we have. Number one, we came out with a new internal battery, which is what it does is allows the user to remove all the backups with 2 screen systems. So if you do an Aspen Max 2000 or 2500 system, there's no backups required because you have completely dual redundant systems independent of each other. There's no single point of failure, and it just allows the freedom to a lot more options. You know, most people aren't cutting new panels and putting 2 screens in and being done, but it gives you a lot of flexibility when laying out your panel. I mean, and that is an option. We have a few people that do that, but there's a lot of flexibility with being able to no requirements for backups, and that's with the new Max system. And speaking of the new Max system, we have a trade-in program going on right now. So let's say you have
you got the trade-in program for Christmas, man.
Yes.
Serious trade-in program.
Yeah, our trade-in program is pretty compelling. So the way it works is if you say you bought a unit or had one installed back in 2008, 2009, or whenever, if it's a legacy system.
The dark ages.
The dark ages, right? Then for a normal price on that is $54.95 to trade that unit in for a new Max. And we're doing a special right now. I'll tell you what the price is in a second. Don't let me forget that part, because that's the most important part, right? What I'm talking about.
Oh, Perry would kick your butt.
Yeah, she would.
I'm not going to let that happen.
Yeah, so what is really nice about the Max, and most people don't understand this, it's a totally new product. It's not just an upgrade. It's not just a little, we fixed a few things here or there. It is, outside of the form factor, everything's new. So we got
clean sheet, huh?
Completely clean sheet, all new processor, all new screen. There's what we call dual aiding AHRS, so there's no single point of failure.
Okay.
Whereas with the legacy units, if you had a block pitot tube, you would lose your entire screen. It'd go red X. And now with the new dual aiding AHRS, we call it, and all that means is there's no single point of failure. So when you have a block pitot tube, it just red X's the airspeed and everything else keeps on going. So that is grabbing a lot of attention. Oh, and there's audio call out. So you get audio calls through your headset now. Instead of just a noise alert, just a little chirp chirp inside the cabin. Now it's actually an audio call out through your headset that says like approaching minimums, timers, whatever the call out is. So that's pretty nice feature. We also have a ARC which is a climb and descent. I call it banana, a climb and descent banana. Basically, whatever altitude you dial on the Aspen, as you're climbing or descending, it says here's where you're going to be at when you cross that altitude.
Okay.
So and that's both on the PFD and the MFD. And what that's nice for is as I'm coming in, let's say just something simple. I'm going in to land. I dial in the pattern altitude. As I'm going in, I get a little arc on the map, and as long as it's on the airport or before it, I know I'm going to make that altitude.
Okay.
So use it for like a crossing restriction, avoiding airspace, and so on and so forth. Another big announcement we made is with the Genesis 3100 autopilot interface. So that is approved and done. Genesis is also adding aircraft weekly to their STC, and right now I know the 210's on it, the 300 series Cessna's on it. So if you're installing an Aspen and a 3100, you get a really nice streamlined interface, which includes things like your flight director, indicated airspeed, altitude pre-select, all your mode enunciations, and of course envelope protection. We provide the air data that they need for your envelope protection, so it won't let you underspeed or overspeed the airplane. Also get vertical speed control. And all of our Aspen products come with synthetic vision included. Yeah. So you get the really nice pretty picture with the pros and the MFDs.
So basically 5 pounds in a 2 pound bag.
Yeah, yeah.
Outstanding, outstanding. You guys have come a long way since the initial development of the product, and I remember the early days of that and some of the folks involved and how much optimism they had about not just the system and the form factor, but the industry's willingness to take on something they hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And that's got Aspen written all over it. Where do you take it from here?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Jim. Where do you take it from here? And we start looking at more interfaces. We're very open architecture. I say that we play nice in the sandbox. So we want to interface with everybody out there, talk to everybody out there. And as this new technology comes along, we want to be able to interface with those products, whether it be a GPS or an autopilot or any new technology as it moves along. And one of the things that I didn't mention, which is our E5. And our E5 is our entry-level product, but it's really bang for the buck. You get a lot of function and capability and feature-rich for less than $5,000, right? And that allows you to remove your attitude indicator, allows you to pull out your vacuum system with just one screen, and it's under $5,000. So that's good. And then you almost let me forget the pricing on the Max trade-ins.
I was about to ask. Honest. I really was.
Okay. So Perry doesn't skin me. So the Max trade-ins, we're running a special through the end of July. It's going to be $29.95.
Okay.
So if you have that unit that you bought in 2008, 2009, that legacy unit, you can trade that in. So it's like bringing your Ford F-150 from 2009 to a brand new 2021 with all the new features, synthetic vision included, and it's $29.95. And you just send us your old unit back, and we'll send you a brand new unit ahead of time.
Interesting. And of course, with the same form factor, installation is somewhat simplified.
Yep. You got
with the additional capabilities as well, you're going to have to plan that out with your avionics shop.
Correct. So you want to call ahead, obviously, to tell your avionics shop what you want to do. They'll schedule that in. They'll order that from us. We send the unit ahead of time, and then you schedule a time with them to go in. As far as install goes, you're going to need to do, for the audio, call outs to your headset, you'll need to do a twisted pair from the unit to the audio panel.
Okay.
Outside of that, it's pretty much slide in, slide out, slide in replacement.
For $3,000.
For $3,000, brand new, 2-year warranty.
Is John having to sell his house or something?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, good grief. That is a good deal. It really is. I mean, when you consider you've had all this use for an extended period of time and matured with the system, and now to get the next generation for what is, in some other cases, basically the price of a software upgrade.
Right.
It's amazing. That's pretty slick.
Yeah.
The big news, of course, with Aspen this year was you joining as part of a larger organization. And everybody's question is, was Aspen going to abandon GA? Are we still going to have such a GA-centric company with Aspen at the helm? Absolutely.
So we're doing anything but leaving GA. That's our that's our business model, and that's what we do. We are a retrofit company, and that's what Aspen Avionics does. The Aero Group was a agreement, or is an agreement.
Good name, by the way.
Yeah, Aero Group, right? Is an agreement among a bunch of different
those
companies.
of us at Aero-News approved.
Okay, good. Yeah, right. Yeah. So basically, the concept and the idea behind the Aero Group is a group of folks, a group of companies coming together and using the synergy between the different companies to do different things, and allowing us on our end, we bring certain things to the table that we do well, and then all these other different companies will bring different things to the table that they do well. And so with that in mind, we can hopefully pave some new roads and do some cool stuff moving forward.
What do you think that's going to actually do for Aspen? I mean, I realize I'm putting you on the spot.
Right,
And
that's
I'm
okay.
doing it on purpose, by the way.
That's okay.
Besides, I think John enjoys watching you squirm anyway.
Right,
So
yeah, they all do.
Yeah. How will we see this manifest itself at Aspen?
Yeah, I think you'll probably hear some more things later this year, just from a standpoint of what this agreement means between the companies. We don't have the details yet on it, and myself included. They don't let the sales guys know too much, right? Because we're hard to keep mouth shut. So it's should be all good stuff. Everything that I've heard so far, and like I just mentioned before, it's a base to where we can use those assets and abilities from different companies to grow and build and see you in the future.
I've been asking everybody who's come up here heretofore. Obviously, we had an interesting year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a nice way to put it, Jim. Interesting year.
Oof. Well, I'll tell you what, it was wild. We were prepped and ready for AEA 2019. We'd done a major hardware upgrade on all of our live streaming gear, a major software upgrade, which, by the way, did cost several $1,000s.
Wow.
So, almost as much as the whole I should have just traded in and gone for something else. No.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of prep and a lot of excitement. Then all of a sudden the industry just stopped.
Like somebody just shut the faucet off, right?
Last person turned off the lights. It was
right.
wild. But it also, for Aero-News, we've always been an electronic organization.
Right.
We actually had an office about 10 years ago for a couple of months as an experiment. Nobody used it because they're all working at home, and the office, the only cool thing about the office, it was at the airport and next to the airport restaurant, which was great at lunchtime. It's the only time anybody came in.
Yeah.
So the whole change of everybody and so forth, it derived into new practices and new ways of doing business. And this is my roundabout way of asking, how has Aspen changed as a function of the pandemic? What did you learn? How did you survive? And
yeah, that's a great question.
What kind of company is it now?
I think Aspen is going to come out of this year, or the last year, stronger than ever. We've learned a lot. I think from the factory standpoint to the folks within the organization. We're fortunate in the fact that a lot of us that don't have to be in the office work from our home office.
Yeah.
That exception to that is obviously going to be manufacturing folks and some engineering folks there. But like our sales team, our support team, we work out of our home offices, and that allows little change to those guys, with the exception of travel. And so our travel was knocked out. Like everything else came to a standstill for some time. We also made some changes within the organization. Pulled the throttle back on some different things. But overall, Aspen will come through this pandemic, I guess, better than most. So, and we, didn't let anybody go. We kept everybody on board. Like I said, made some small changes here and there, but overall, I think we've been very fortunate and blessed to be I'm sitting here and doing what we do, and which is, take care of our customers, provide great product support, and a good quality product.
That's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
Well, the AEA community is glad to be here. It's obvious that everybody is rip-roaring to go. They've had a year they didn't want, and they are very, very pleased to be back in the game. But at the same time, I do see us changing as a function of everything that just occurred.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be good, and all we can do is wait out the next year. And of course, Oshkosh is a month away.
Looking
We're
forward to
expecting
that.
it to be a barn burner.
It's going to be, yeah.
EAA is saying advanced ticket sales are outstripping 2019. I saw the numbers for Sun and Fun. They were awfully impressive.
Yes, and we were there for that, yeah.
Press conference at Oshkosh this year about that, by the way. That'll be real interesting about the future of Sun and Fun. And then finally, more than anything else, all aspects of aviation are opening up, and so far looking like they're coming back as strong as ever. So
yeah.
With Aspen, with everybody else, good luck.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll just say real quick that you know, I've been doing this for, I don't know, 20 years, and
a short timer.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
such a kid.
Yeah, coming to the show for at least 20 years, and you know, I look around and you see the activity. You see everybody's out and about. You know, we're ready to go. We're excited to be here like everybody else, and so it's really good to see everybody. It's good to be seen.
Yeah.
You know, it's good to shake hands, catch up with friends, because that's what this show is. This is a great time to, you know, just catch up with old friends. So.
And not be scared it's going to kill you.
No, not be scared it's going to kill you. No, sir.
There you go. All righty, Scott. Thanks so much for being part of all this and being a good interview subject over the years.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to doing this again down the line, and we'll see you at Oshkosh.
All right, we'll see you at Oshkosh, Jim, and thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Well,
thank you.
All righty, folks. We're going to take a short break. We've got just think pink, and we'll take it from there. But Mr. GPS, the guy in the pink shirt, is about to show up, and we got an interesting story to tell you there. We are live from the Hilton Anatole in Dallas, Texas, the AEA 2021 International Convention and Trade Show, and we'll be right back in just a few moments. Take it away, Nathan. And we're back. That was a quick switch. Sure appreciate that. Alrighty, folks, we are switching the format a little bit here. We've been talking to some of the manufacturers. Let's just talk to some of the industry experts, the guys out there in the real world, teaching the rest of us not to be morons. Gary Reeves, otherwise known as Mr. GPS, the 2019 Flight Instructor of the Year, and a fellow who just wrote his first book. And we met him the other day and explained that first book is kind of like first child, and gave him a lot of congratulations from that standpoint. But let's talk about what he's doing and why. Gary, welcome to Aero-News, AEA 2021. What are you doing here, man?
Well, you know, I actually exhibited AEA because what I do for a living is I teach good pilots who are great at flying their airplane how to work all the new buttons.
And not be morons.
Yeah, you know, you can put in some really great stuff from Avidyne, Garmin, Aspen, all these great manufacturers. But if you put in all this new equipment and don't know how to use all of it, particularly in emergencies, you're really kind of more dangerous than with the old steam gauge stuff. So what I do is I do three things. I give away free getting started videos for anything Avidyne, Garmin, Aspen, all the good stuff. Genesis autopilots. I also sell paid videos where people can really master all the features. And then what I really do for a living is I go out all over the world and I spend 3 days with people in their airplane, teaching them to be not just good at IFR, but great with all the functions. And you know the most important thing I teach?
What's that?
You put $100,000 worth of new stuff in your airplane, I get you great at it, and then the end of the third day, when you really understand all of the GPS and all of the autopilot and all of the display, I turn everything off. I black out your entire panel, even standby stuff, and I make you hand fly under the hood down to 100 feet above the deck using your iPad only in an emergency. So now that you knew all the technology in a massive electrical failure, you still have a way out.
So in other words, you've got kind of a real masochistic streak there, don't you?
Absolutely.
So,
it is,
or sadistic streak as well.
Yeah,
good grief.
It's just a lot of fun. And with all my years of teaching and traveling, you know, mostly the US, but all over the world, I found a bunch of stuff that really good instrument instructors teach, that really good instrument examiners test for, that have nothing to do with real world flying IFR.
Well, let's switch up real quick. Got something to show here. This is your baby.
And that's the answer to that.
Ta-da, ta-da. Tell us about the book.
Well, that's exactly what the book is. You know, instrument instructors are very limited in what they're allowed to teach because they have to get you to pass an instrument check ride. And examiners have to test certain skills. But in real world, IFR, single pilot IFR is totally different. And that's what this book is all about. This book is the same training that that I do in my private individuals, but I'm sold out till October. I mean, I can only train so many people. This book, hugely popular. I've been very lucky. You know, it sold 500 copies before it was ever published.
There you go. It's a good start.
We're selling 40 to 50 a day, and it's broken down into four things. And it starts with a safety mindset, much better ways of flight planning, much better ways of in-flight, and the fact that all autopilots should use GPS and autopilots more. All good pilots should actually hand fly less, which is opposite than what most safety experts teach.
Use the tools that you have.
Yeah, because if I teach all my people, I never want you to hand fly. I want the autopilot on at 400 feet after takeoff, or 200 feet if you got it, and I want it on all the way down till you see the runway, because then you can look outside, then you can get updated big picture weather. We know that autopilots make people safer if they know how to use them.
Yeah, bingo.
So
there's that if word.
So if people buy the best avionics on the planet, but they never take any professional formal training and just learn by watching a couple YouTube videos, they're not getting the benefit. So that's kind of what the book talks about, you know, and I got to tell you, almost everything in the book will contradict everything everybody else teaches.
Well, the interesting thing, I've been a flight instructor for quite a few decades, CFI, II, MEI, HI, and all that. And I've never believed in the conventional wisdom.
Sure.
I believed in giving my students survival skills above and beyond all things, and then a sense of discipline about how to plan, conduct, and complete a flight. And in many cases, that didn't necessarily agree with the FAA because, frankly, the check ride is a joke. I mean, it's a minimum applicable standard, fine, but it's not real world. The thing I wish they would do, which would be marvelous, is do a check ride and then come back and retake it in 90 days. See what you've learned, what's happened, and so forth. And not say retake it with an examiner, but retake it with an experienced flight instructor, and then have that experience to ask those questions. Yeah, I was doing this, I learned this, and take that real world and start interpreting it as a function of how a flight really should be conducted as safely, responsibly, and yeah, within the regs.
Sure.
And go from there.
Well, you know, the check ride is really not designed as a real world study.
No.
Because being under the hood is not the same as being in real clouds.
No.
But you know, and I'm sure you know this, and many of you watching may not know this, most examiners, 99.99%, will not allow you to do your IFR check ride in actual IMC because you're not rated yet and they don't want the liability. So many people learn IFR just under the hood, just multiple approaches, but they never practice the real world en route stuff. And that's what this book is gonna give you. In fact, I'm such a believer in pink. You may not know this, but not only do I have a pink shirt, I absolutely have pink shoelaces. I won't show anything else pink I'm wearing on camera, I promise.
Thank you, thank you very much.
You know, I do get a little nervous on camera because I've only been on TV like a bunch. Fortunately for me, in case I got nervous, I was actually able to get an emotional support unicorn.
Gee, I wonder where you got that from.
From Crystal on the camera, and she said, well, the pink unicorn would make me feel better, and this is Uni-what-to-do? Did I get the name right? So thanks to Crystal for loaning me a pink unicorn. And if nothing else, I just want everybody to do this. If you ever see me out in public, and I'm easy to spot, stop, say hi, ask me for a picture, and I would love to meet you in public, and if you stop me in public and pose with a picture, I'll give you a copy of my book for free. And you know, my autograph, if you save it long enough, may be worth pennies someday.
There you go.
Or you could cross out my name and write in Rod Machado, and that would probably make my book worth more.
There you
but
go.
If you want to read a free sample, pilotsafety.org. Yeah, hey, Rod. Or John and Martha, my friends.
There you go.
You just go to pilotsafety.org, click on book, and you can read a free sample chapter. And I hope all of you will buy more avionics, put more technology in the plane, learn how to use it, and let's challenge some of the conventional wisdom that's still taught today. And it's taught for a reason, but you're right. The check ride and the training is not real world, and this is the outlier. This is what works in real world. So classic examples, you know, I tell people never file a Victor Airway, with a couple exceptions. But I don't want you to file GPS Direct either. So many instructors teach, we'll just file GPS Direct. But that's not actually correct. I want you to file almost GPS Direct. You should always file the departure procedure if there is one, the arrival if there is one, but if there's no arrival, GPS Direct to the initial approach fix of the procedure you want to shoot when you get there, and don't worry about the ILS is published. You know, so it's kind of it's like you're saying, it's just a different point of view. And open it up to some new discussions.
There you go. What instructions or messages do you have for the CFIIs out there that are struggling to be legal, but really more interested in teaching their students how to survive in the system?
So the best thing that ever happened to me when I was training for my instrument is, you know, there's a cross country that's required and all that. I actually did a night IFR cross country where we even picked up a little light trace ice. Mm-hmm. And that was amazing. So the best advice I can give out to all the instrument instructors out there is, if you can find a day where you can put them in actual weather safely.
Oh gosh, yes.
You got to get them real exposure. You know, you wouldn't believe this. There was a Part 141 school in Phoenix tied to a major airline that their instructors were not allowed to teach instrument lessons in actual IMC. The school said that's too dangerous.
Yeah, it's no excuse for that.
Right, so the advice, it's a great question, is put them in actual weather without the hood, if you can safely.
Man, I was, back in the day when I was teaching actively and I knew we had weather the next day, first thing you do is get on the phone and students, hey man, here's a chance to get actual. And go for it and plan for it and everything else. And just letting them get comfortable in the clag. And the funny thing is it not only built the skill set, but it built the confidence thereafter. What I wanted when I got done was, okay, pass the check ride, ta-da. But I also hope the next day you're capable of filing IFR and going someplace, even if you got to deal with the clag. That's when I felt I was doing my job.
Do you really want your students' first time in actual IMC to be on their own without you? And I say no. And I've got one more kind of controversial thing. I'd love to throw a grenade and see what kind of feedback we get.
We're big believers in grenades. Throw
you ready?
away, buddy.
I'm just going to pull the pin and go.
Yep, there you go.
You ready for this, guys and gals, my instrument instructor team out there? The first 5 or 6 lessons should be done entirely on autopilot, never hand flown. Because I think the student in real life is going to use the autopilot. B, and here's what's more critical, trial and error is a really bad way to learn. So let me ask you a question, Jim. You're a multi-engine instructor.
Yes, sir.
If I went to your flight school and said, I'm a 200-hour private pilot, and I've watched a couple YouTube videos, I don't really want to pay for an instructor. What I'd like to do is I'd like just to take your twin up and practice engine failures on my own until I get good at it. What do you think?
I think he needs to find another flight school.
So if we start out instrument students with, okay, let's fly a VOR approach, and you make the student hand fly it, all they're going to do is make a bunch of mistakes. They're not really learning, except they're frustrated.
Yeah.
If you demonstrate a coupled approach where the autopilot flies everything, and they just watch the ground track going up a 4-flight chart, and they watch what a good approach looks like, then when they go to hand fly, the learning curve is shortened. And you know, if people did that, I think you'd take 10 or 20 hours off most people's instrument ratings. Because instead of making a bunch of mistakes, they could see a perfect one and then mimic it.
Let me ask you this. I'm asking everybody who comes up for interview today. We had an interesting year. And I keep using that phrase because, boy, nothing else seems to fit.
Right.
And it certainly is, an underwhelming way of saying what really happened. How does the year that's passed, year plus that's passed, changed your business, your life, and your sense of the community? And what do you think is going to happen to the community as a result?
So I need to say this with some sensitivity because a lot of people suffered due to the COVID and everything that went on. I got to tell you though, I think it's actually been a huge boost for general aviation. And I think it's going to create more general aviation opportunities. I think the pilot shortage is going to come back faster than you could possibly believe. And you wouldn't believe this, but my business actually almost doubled. Mm-hmm. And some avionics shops are now booked 8 months to a year out because people at home now have time to, they want to get their instrument, they want to upgrade their units. So although a lot of people suffered some tragedy, and I'm very sensitive to that, now's the time. I think general aviation is going to have kind of a renaissance. I think it's going to be boost for the next several years. I think now's the time to get into GA. I think now's the time to start pilot training.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think we're going to look at a very interesting Oshkosh, barn burner from everything we've seen and heard from so far. I think that's going to be extraordinary. The AUVSI, the unmanned show that follows it in August, is already looking to be exceptional. NBAA is bragging about running out of booths. Yeah. I'm hoping that the aviation industry, all of us, look at what has happened to us, learns our best from how better to communicate, how better to reach out, the necessity for doing all that no matter what means we use. If it's Zoom, God bless. If it's telephone, God bless. If it's face-to-face, even better, but God bless. We do what we can. but I am hoping that a healthier, more conscientious, more purposeful industry results.
Yeah, I think 2021 and 2022 are absolutely going to be record years for everything in aviation.
You heard it, he said it, it must be true. Seriously, the man wrote a book. You got to believe a man wrote a book. Take my word for it.
That's right.
There
And I brought a unicorn. It's on loan, but you know, unicorns only hang out around people that tell the truth.
Secondhand unicorn,
right?
I don't know.
Oh, secondhand unicorn.
Okay.
Sorry, Uni, what do you do? You got to go back to Crystal.
Well, tell you what, folks, we're going to go from here to Gogo. We've got David Salvador on deck, and we're going to talk about some extraordinary internet connectivity issues that are coming up, and more important, some big strides. So, live from the floor of the Hilton Anatole Convention Center in Dallas, Texas, we are the Aero-News Network at the AEA 2021 Convention and Trade Show, International Convention and Trade Show, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. See you in a few.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 64th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Dallas, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Pilot Communications USA is proud to introduce our latest headsets, the Carbon A1 Active Noise Reduction and the Carbon P1 Passive Headset. Carbon fiber makes our headsets 30% lighter than others, which significantly reduces pilot fatigue. Our BlueLink hand control unit allows you to connect 2 devices at the same time, and the record out capability can send audio to an onboard camera or digital recorder. Get the headset that's so light you may forget you're wearing one at pilot-usa.com.
ELT is just another tick on your pre-flight checklist, until you need it. Did you ever wonder what would happen if you had an engine failure over the mountains, marshland, or other dangerous terrain? Take to the skies confidently with the most reliable and highest performing ELTs and safety products on board that instantly mobilize life-saving search and rescue across the world. Read survivor stories from aviators and adventurers who survived life-threatening encounters thanks to ACR and Artex life-saving technology. Luck favors the prepared at Survivor
Folks,
Club.
We're back. It's about the midpoint of our AEA extravaganza. We're live from the convention floor of the Hilton Anatole in Dallas, Texas. And we have the great good fortune to be dealing with none other, yes, the man, David Salvador, Gogo. Okay, I gotta say, hell of a year in so many ways.
Yeah.
In so many ways, but Gogo keeps going in many facets, 5G, what have you, and 2,000 airframes now?
Yeah, 2,000 with our new advanced platform, which we launched in 2017. But overall, with our air-to-ground systems, the classic ATG 4,000, 5,000, those products, we have actually over 6,000 aircraft that are connected between the 2000 Advance and the 4000 plus classic air-to-ground.
So basically world domination any day now?
No, actually it's 28% of our addressable market as we see it. So
there we go.
You know, when we really brought air-to-ground to market, we had only a couple percent that were started the first year, but you know, here in 2021 we're actually up to about 28% of the addressable market is connected with Gogo air-to-ground systems.
Well, I was telling some of your folks, I believe I told you, a little bit over a year ago, I was crewing on a CJ3 along with our board chairman on the Bob Hoover Foundation, which I was executive director for that year, with Tracy Forrest. And he just had a lovely CJ3 and we were going all over the place, but Tracy and I, our idea of going, I remember one cross country, coast to coast, we get to altitude, we pull the laptops out and okay, it's your turn to take primary and keeping an eye out while I get some work done, and we'd switch back and forth. And plus, oh yeah, here's a great cat video. But it's all on Gogo. And I was amazed at just how well the system handled everything that we were doing. We're popping up to, you know, we're trying to suck our way up to 410 and just having a great old time, and the system just plain performed. It was flawless. I mean, more important, just, you know, there's a connection, boom, done.
Sure.
Don't worry about it anymore.
Sure.
And I like it when things, JPW, just plain work.
Well, they have to work, right? I mean, if you're going to make that level of investment in connectivity for your aircraft, it better darn work, and it better work within what you have committed to work. And in the case of our products, it's pretty much North America, so United States, Alaskan corridor, and all the populated areas of Canada.
Especially we live and work in complicated environments, and the last thing we need is another complication.
Sure.
So there you go. It was flawless, and I know Tracy just used it to death. I'm sure you just made big bucks off his bandwidth. He had a ball.
Well, you know, but he may have had the what we call the Pro plan, which has a fixed cost,
right?
Which is it's been a big advantage from folks wanting to invest in flight connectivity because it's predictable.
Yeah.
And then when you fly business aircraft, predictability every month is important. Or when you budget for the subsequent year, you need predictability.
Good deal. So, what's the latest and greatest in the Gogo world? Let's clear the decks and talk about 5G. Let's talk about the airplanes, and more important, what is next? Because you guys, 28% today, tomorrow.
Yeah, sure. Well, 5G is what's front and center for our organization right now. We've been working on. We announced at the beginning of this week the first tower was put up for 5G, and we have used a test aircraft, a Beechcraft Baron, to test our antennas.
Good choice.
Well, yeah, efficient, you know, get across the country, and we flew the aircraft coast to coast. We took noise measurements, wanted to make sure we're replacing all the rest of our network is proper. Of course, we've been in development of the hardware for the aircraft in addition to the antenna, so the LRU, and our organization made our first end-to-end data session, which means we used the 5G SIM card. We connected through an aircraft antenna down to the tower, out to the internet, and then back, you know, through the server to the aircraft. So that was a milestone and significant for our organization.
I can believe it.
And it's a big deal. So, you know, between first tower going up, the infrastructure, the backhaul and work, we've really been actively in development of this, and we'll roll out a test network through the remainder of this year, and then we will basically start our first article STC and PMA aircraft, roll out the rest of the network, and then bring the whole program in service toward the backside of 2022.
Boy, maturity, that kind of maturity by the end of the year?
Yeah.
That's
By
impressive.
the end of 2022, yes.
Excellent, okay. You know, one of the things I've been doing a little bit of reading about, the regulatory environment you work in just must be insane. Because you're crossing a whole lot of borders here.
Yeah.
Figuratively speaking, as well as literally. How does that work for you?
Well, by no means am I the expert on regulatory affairs, and we have folks that are, you know, that are dedicated to work on that for our company. But we've been building out air-to-ground networks for quite a few years. In fact, this will be the fourth network that we've launched. So we work closely with the regulatory authorities, and in the case of 5G, that is the experience is being delivered with 64 megahertz of spectrum. And the 60 megahertz is unlicensed frequency spectrum. And then, as you know from the products that you just explained you've flown on, that leverages 4 megahertz of licensed frequency spectrum. So Gogo is the sole user of that spectrum. It's dedicated only to aviation, so when we combine the unlicensed frequency spectrum and the licensed spectrum, it will deliver the 5G experience coast to coast in the United States.
Fascinating. The company made some big changes in the not too distant past between your dedicated airline unit and the decision to dedicate solely to get lean and mean, so to speak, with the business aviation community. How have they responded?
As far as the business aviation community? Very well. One of the things when you're growing a company, you do it at a lightning pace sometimes. The company was founded on this community, the business aviation community, decided to branch out into the commercial aviation world, and as we looked long down the road in that being a company that handles both of those markets, we felt it would be better served for us to go back to our roots. And so the airline division was acquired by Intelsat, and now we are solely focused on the business aviation community and widening our addressable market. So, we have historically, our sweet spot's been really the super mid-size aircraft up into the heavies, and in the last few years we've been really focusing on expanding that market segment to go down market, down into the turboprops and the single turboprop type aircraft like a PC-12, and then all the way up. So it's been an effort to really broaden the addressable market to install our products in.
Yeah, I've got a M600 buddy who's lusting after you guys in a big way.
Yeah.
And especially the way he gets around, and he's got, for him, the right airplane, so he's having a great time.
Sure.
Interesting. Okay. The past year, above and beyond all the political changes within the company, were also difficult from the standpoint that the world was changing around us and not in a good way.
Yeah.
How did Gogo get through that?
Well, financially, it was a real challenge when the airline revenue stream shut down, and it truly shut down to nothing.
Yeah.
So our efforts in desire to become just a business aviation company again and move the commercial airline division to another organization, that had started prior to the pandemic. So we were fortunate that the company that acquired us, regardless of the pandemic, still moved forward with that acquisition. So the lack of revenue from the airline side, of course, once that acquisition occurred, then we went back to our roots, and business aviation, as we've seen, has really risen out of the pandemic at a lightning pace.
And in the long run, appears to be benefiting from the awareness of how valuable aviation can be, even in the most extreme circumstances.
Yeah, and tied with that, connectivity also has seen a spike in demand. Over 20% we've seen from a year ago to today.
Amazing.
Yeah.
When a business aviation customer comes to you and they've got an airframe that is suiting them well, but they're looking for the versatility that comes with staying connected in a world that demands you stay connected, what's your process? What do you introduce them to? How do you educate them? How do you not just make them a customer, but give them the tools to utilize all of the abilities that are now at their dispatch?
Well, I think it really comes down to being the trusted advisor. Yeah. So if as we go through the process our solution is not the right solution for them, we'll recommend them to another product that may not be something we offer. We look at what the mission of the aircraft is, how many passengers typically fly on it, and sometimes for customers it may not always be 100% meeting the requirements of that mission based on the ROI. So the return on investment by investing connectivity needs to be a strong one, and with the highest concentration of business aircraft here in North America, we win very often because of that. But we don't just sell them to sell them something, because to your point, we want to build a long-standing customer, and if we don't, let's say the aircraft is based in California, but it constantly is going overseas, then we wouldn't sell them an air-to-ground system, because they may have a very short time span they can use it.
Fascinating. The internet connectivity business, if we can put it that way, rather succinctly, there's some competition out there. What distinguishes Gogo? What makes Gogo something to be considered?
Well, Gogo is, we became, and here we are at the Aircraft Electronics Association show, we became an AEA member 29 years ago this coming November.
Oh, a short timer.
Yeah. So in that time, if you consider, we started as a small startup, the company formerly known as Aircell, and we have...
I remember it well.
Yeah, and we have built 4 air-to-ground networks, launched 4 air-to-ground networks, and what we have built is a reputation for quality. You made the comments before about it just works. So performance, and we have always had a path for our customers to upgrade to the next level technology, somewhat of a loyalty type program. So that's one of the things that we focused on for customer retainment. And we've also expanded beyond just the pipe on the aircraft, an internet pipe. The advanced platform that we developed is well beyond just connectivity. It also provides in-flight entertainment. It connects to what we call the Gogo Cloud, so today that's used for updating in-flight entertainment content, the movies and television shows when an airplane is either has the cloud in their hangar or they have a trip in their stop at, let's say, a signature FBO that houses the cloud. But that product has been designed and that platform has been designed to really be future-proof. So the next step for those customers that have invested in L5, as an example, is adding 5G to the infrastructure that's already in the airplane.
Outstanding.
So, yeah.
Your company has also been a big player in the community overall. You've been heavily involved with AEA.
Yes.
These are the kind of pursuits that take a lot of time away from just normal business, but you've seen fit to make the investment. What are you getting out of your time and investment in supporting AEA?
Well, I personally have been fortunate to be elected on the board of directors. I'm in my 3rd term. I served as the treasurer one of those terms, and when I look at that investment, it is a personal investment and a professional investment for the company, but I have got a lot out of the relationships that, of course, this association provides, and for our company, it comes down to exposure. So when you look at being involved in any association, I'm also involved in the NBA association because of the ability to be involved in that, because that's business aviation is the core there. So the AEA really provides the ability for me personally and the company professionally to do that. And we've had other employees way back to the Aircell days. One of our employees was chairman of the board, Dan Prosser, at one point. So our company has a history of involvement in the associations that we want to give back to, and also get the benefits that the association offers.
Final question, we've been asking everybody up here. Over the course of what has occurred over the last year and a half, and the changes that resulted to basically survive, how does that change Gogo as a company going forward?
Well, one of the things that we're facing now is supply chain issues, like many companies that are in the electronics world. And as we look to what has affected our ability to go beyond forecast, some components that we use in our equipment, certainly with the lengthy lead times, is something we now have to plan even more farther out. So what we've seen with our partners, the MROs, the dealers, and the OEMs, this is a big change in that they've been used to, in the past, not having lengthy lead times. So we've been required to work with them on a much closer basis for not only near-term revenue opportunities with our products, but also look long-term. We're talking about 2022 schedules with our partners right now. So if I can pinpoint one specific thing, it's that, as it relates to your business. The other thing is you get closer as an organization when you move through what we all have moved through. And I would say the relationships internally for us have gotten even closer and more synergetic between even the different departments to be able to deliver what we've done in a remote environment, because most of the employees, when the lockdowns occurred, were working remote. So that's been a big deal too, learning how to operate a business remotely.
I'll be darned. Well, I'll tell you what, we sure appreciate your time. It's been a great week so far. We started off with a bang yesterday with just a phenomenal MPI.
Yes.
The spirit here is really electrifying. okay, pun intended.
Completely agree.
And more important than anything else, I think everybody is looking to the future. We know we've got a barn burner of an Oshkosh coming.
Yep.
The folks working in the UAV community are looking forward to AUVSI in Atlanta in August. NBAA is already talking about running out of exhibit space.
Yep.
From here to God's ear, let's hope that the aviation world at this point is headed for bigger and better things and healthier things. And once again, thanks for all your help in making sure we get this done.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks,
Alrighty,
Jim.
folks, we are ready to take a break here. This is Aero-News Network's AEA Live at the Anatole Hilton in Dallas, Texas. We are the 2021 AEA Convention and International Convention and Trade Show, and we're taking a break. We'll be back in just a moment. Got some surprises for you. Alto Aviation is on deck. We'll see you in just a few minutes, and we're out. Alrighty, folks, we're back. Took a short break, been getting ready for another hour of live programming here at the AEA International Convention and Trade Show at the Hilton Anatole in Dallas, Texas. And like everybody, we're really enjoying the fact that everybody's back. We missed a year, it sucked. And we are so glad to be back and talking to folks in the field who are building, driving, and keeping aviation flying and flying well. Kevin Hayes, Alto Aviation, tell me, what's new?
Well, we had a new product introduction yesterday.
Yep.
And so we introduced a new bezel series for a Baker obsolete replacement series.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually created a new bezel that's designed to fit the old obsolete MHL3, MHL4 panels.
Okay.
So this is our new product introduction. And we designed bezels that actually match the wood cutout of the old systems. And then populate the modules as we needed for retable call, USB charging ports,
mm-hmm.
and so forth. So this bezel allows us to meet the form fit of the old panels.
Okay.
So this is our new introduction at this show. And we have a small panel and a large panel that we debuted.
Okay.
So it just allows us to fit the obsolete systems that are out there flying. These are typically on the Falcon aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
And so this gives us a chance to be able to address these customers' obsolescence issues that are happening in the field.
Outstanding.
Yep. So we're seeing a lot of systems now that are obsolete, from Air Show, Audio International, Baker, Lufthansa, Paxis. So a lot of these systems are flying with no support.
Oh boy.
And so
that's an accident waiting to happen.
Exactly. So it creates an issue for our customers that can't support their planes.
Okay.
No spares, no support. So we come to the rescue, so to speak,
Yep.
and provide a fit compatible solution for their airplanes.
Well, tell you what, you're doing some really intriguing stuff in areas of aviation most of us don't see.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit of what Alto Aviation is and why was it created? How did this company come into being?
Okay, sure. So we are 25 years young, and we were started back in the day when our founders, Don Hamilton and Steve Scarlatta, were part of the Bose Corporation, and they were working with Gulfstream at the time. And when Bose exited the industry, our guys stepped up to the plate and supported their products in the field. So at that time, we started building amplifiers for them and started supporting their systems. So we were born 25 years ago. So that's kind of how we started.
What is the breadth of your product line? What all do you do?
So our bread and butter is cabin audio. We love audio. We're passionate about audio. We provide nice audio systems for these corporate jets, from surround sound systems to stereo systems to PA systems, and so that's our mainstay. So we provide.
And that's a market that demands exacting tolerances.
Exactly. So our bread and butter is the fact that we actually come and tune the systems when they're finished. So we send an audio engineer on site and tune the systems at the end of the day. And so we actually have a system that's tuned to the aircraft. So interior characteristics of furnishings, leathers, carpets. And so we actually have a microphone that tunes the systems. And then at the end of the day, it's perfect for that install. Yeah.
Must take a lot of advanced planning.
It does. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay, I come to you looking to upgrade an installation with an aircraft that's well flown, well loved, but a little archaic.
Yeah.
What happens? Tell me how that process works for you.
Okay. So obviously there's a customer interaction. So they'll tell us what they want. So sometimes they'll ask for cabin audio, which we have options for that. We also offer cabin management systems as well. As I mentioned, our new product, the CSS product here, we can option out a new CSS system for them as well. So we can provide new panels for all the old control electronics that are in the plane. So we work with the customer, understand their specs. If they need a new audio system, AV sources, headphones, no headphones, lighting controls. So we understand their spec, and then we develop a program based on that spec.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, the changes that you've made and the evolution of these systems, where is the technology coming from? What demands are people making? Why were these changes necessary?
So with this system, we decided to make it an analog-based system.
Okay.
So rather than doing software-based systems with data bus control, we decided to go a more analog-based approach. Simple wires, simple controllers, and made the systems robust.
Probably pretty cost-effective as well.
Very cost-effective as well, yeah.
Okay.
So we have our systems that have a discrete wire for switches and for ground ends. And so with that said, we can do a very simple logic control with no software. So in terms of cost, like I said, lower cost solutions, but fits the need. So that's why we decided to develop it in this fashion.
It must be tough to find the requisite craftspersons to be able to staff projects like this. And this is one of the things, the theme that the industry's been talking about is where are the techs coming from? Right. How do we train them? What's going on with that? How difficult are you finding that?
We have a great staff. I have a sales staff of 2 other individuals that help me out, as well as sales staff in the office. And we have system engineers as well that support our on-site tunings. We have 4 engineers that do that for us. So, like I said, that talent is hard to find, but we got good people. So,
how do you find and train somebody like that?
That's a good question. I mean, so our engineers have been on site for a while now. So we've had them on staff for several years.
Oh, lucky. Okay.
So that helps as far as the knowledge base. So until we actually add more people, I guess that on the job training it will be neat at that point. So
interesting. That makes sense. Fascinating. The environment in an aircraft cabin is obnoxious.
It is.
It is not a place that somebody who wants to do something that makes something intelligible with a cacophony in the background has got to be tough. If you could comment on just the technologies involved right now in making it work in one of the worst environments in the world.
Exactly. So one of the things that you need for an audio system, for example, is lots of power and efficient drivers and well-placed drivers as well. So when you position switch speakers in the cabin, you need to be in good locations as a start, and then have enough power to drive those speakers. And then if you can have enough power to overcome the ambient noise, you can have a system that actually sounds good in a plane. So that's the driver, is to have enough power to be able to overcome the ambient noise in an aircraft. And then with the tuning, it customizes the audio for that interior, so that helps as well to make sure it gives a good premium sound.
And mind you, you've got to do all this without interfering with any other systems, navigation, communication, and so forth.
Right. So all our systems are TSO approved and D160 tested. So we prove that we don't interfere with other systems as well. Yeah.
What's the certification environment around your kind of work?
So D160 testing for sure.
Okay.
And then so we submit our products to the lab for testing, and then we have a TSO approval from the FAA as well. So we have an approval status with the FAA for TSO for our products as well.
Interesting. Okay. Now you're working currently, say, in the Falcon airframes.
Actually, all aircraft frames right now.
Okay.
Yeah, from Gulfstreams.
Okay.
Bombardier, Falcon, Citation.
Oh, that's some nice work, isn't it?
Nice work, yeah. So we got a good plethora of aircraft models to choose from.
How have you found the manufacturer support for an aftermarket solution like yours?
So, say again. So
how have you found the manufacturers treating you for what is essentially an aftermarket?
Yeah. So they like our solutions because we're user friendly.
Yeah.
So we meet the same cutout frame of the wood. So we're wood friendly. So we help sustain their processes of not having so much woodwork to be done, and save them some time and effort and money for their installs. Yeah.
Yeah. In some cases, we've seen some scenarios in which manufacturers looked at anybody in the aftermarket as overly competitive or what have you, and weren't that supportive, and you weren't able to get the tech information you needed. But I'm hoping that the industry has matured past some of the older complaints and has gotten to a point where they're willing to support folks who ultimately want to make their airplanes look good.
Exactly right, yeah. Yeah, so we pride ourselves on customer service. So we respond to the phone when they call. Yeah. And so we do our best to respond to our customers when they need us.
Any favorites out there among airframes or installations or projects that you've done?
We like Gulfstreams, obviously.
Yep.
Gulfstream
Lots
G4.
of room.
Yeah, G4, G5s.
Yeah.
So a lot of switches involved in those planes. So they're good revenue streams for us. But again, it's a great complement to be able to use same fit compatible switches for those airplanes.
Beautiful machines. Absolutely beautiful. And the next generation will look at even better.
Yeah.
Wild. I would. Now, are you doing most of this on their site or your site? Do they come to you?
On their site, yeah.
Okay.
So we actually come to their facility to do the installs. So we sell the equipment to them.
Okay.
They install it, and then after they install it, we come on site and then tune the systems after it's all said and done.
Yeah. So you're the magic man at that point.
We're the magic man, yeah.
Oh wow, that sounds like fun.
It is fun, a lot of fun. It's fun to get the compliments from our customers when they hear our audio system and they love it. They compliment our quality of sound. And so when we hear these compliments, it makes us feel really good and we're doing a good job for them.
Well, you're in an area of the industry where the difference is going to be noticeable right away.
Right.
And on top of it, the interface with the customer is going to be pretty intimate.
Exactly. Yeah, so these customers, they pay a lot of money for cockpit upgrades, but the guy in the back doesn't see that.
No.
But he hears
this. He sees.
He hears and sees the sound. Exactly.
The guy writing the checks is finally getting something for his, something he sees and can touch and feel and hear.
Exactly right.
Perfect.
Right.
Okay, that makes absolute perfect sense. All righty. What's the future for Alto? Where are you guys going from here?
Well, we are advancing our technologies in the touch screens now. We have a new system master controller box that allows us to do pad controls. So we do controls over pads, as well as touch screens.
Okay.
So that's our new direction for our company as far as cabin control systems. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm asking everybody about how this past year affected them. The fact that we had a global pandemic, the rules changed, everything got thrown into chaos.
Right.
How did that affect you, especially on the travel aspect of things? Imagine that had to be pretty significant.
Yeah.
And more important, what kind of company are you as a result?
So, from a pandemic point of view, it impacted our travel for sure. For our engineers that went on site, we had to resort to remote tunings. So we couldn't come on site to tune the airplanes now. So we actually resorted to a computerized on-site remote system to do the tunings now. So we couldn't visit the customers anymore. So we did that for the tunings to support our aircraft.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah. And then also too, what was interesting is that when the planes stayed in the hangars, they wanted more updates, upgrades. So as the planes didn't fly, the OEMs want to do more maintenance to the planes, more upgrades.
Oh, you lucky dog.
So we found ourselves having more opportunities last year than we had before. So our sales actually grew last year.
Outstanding.
So again, it was, even though the pandemic was detrimental to a lot of companies, for us, it was good for us because we actually were able to grow our company.
Outstanding. Well, I'm glad you're able to at least see some sunshine through all that
Yeah, exactly right.
nonsense. Awful stuff that happened around us, but aviation had a chance to prove itself in a number of ways.
It did, yeah.
Okay.
But again, the OEM marketplace, though, was hit, though, right? So the production aircraft took a hit, but our aftermarket was able to sustain good sales last year.
Interesting. And overall, how do you see this changing Alto totally? I mean, is there any lingering effects at this point to the company?
I don't think so. I think things are looking very, very positive right now. So I think we're looking forward to a great year.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we sure appreciate you being part of the new product introduction yesterday.
Yeah.
For those of you who saw the NPI or are watching the NPI rerun, there were 34 amazing sessions in which some 50, almost 60 products were unveiled.
Yep.
All of those product sessions will be broken down into individual segments in the next few days and weeks, and you will have the opportunity to see them one-on-one as well as en masse. Kevin, we sure appreciate you being a part of the whole ANN, AEA live streaming craziness and so forth. And more important, we wish you the best of luck for the future, and keep us up to date when you've got something newsworthy.
We'll do. All right.
All righty.
All right. Thanks,
okay,
Mike.
folks.
Thank you.
Believe it or not, we've got Pilot Communications on deck. Cyrus Socrati will be joining us in just a moment. And we are heading out to the floor in the meantime, and we will have somebody back to you. So we are out for the moment.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 64th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Dallas, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Pilot Communications USA is proud to introduce our latest headsets, the Carbon A1 Active Noise Reduction and the Carbon P1 Passive Headset. Carbon fiber makes our headsets 30% lighter than others, which significantly reduces pilot fatigue. Our BlueLink hand control unit allows you to connect two devices at the same time, and the record out capability can send audio to an onboard camera or digital recorder. Get the headset that's so light you may forget you're wearing one at pilot-usa.com.
Introducing the new ELT 345 from Artex. This emergency locator transmitter, or ELT, boasts an industry-low price, while providing the same quality and performance on which the Artex brand was built. GPS data is embedded within the first emergency transmission and provides search and rescue personnel with the aircraft location within 100 meters in less than a minute. Take to the skies knowing that you have the highest performing and reliable equipment on board. View our selection of ELTs and safety products at www.artex.com. Artex, your best last chance.
What, you again? Oh, yeah, oh, okay. Hi folks, we're live from AEA 2021. This is the Hilton Anatole Convention Floor. This is AEA's brand new, first time in 2 years convention. It's been a while, and I gotta tell you, if you look the floor and walk the floor, and you'll see some B-roll and shots from the floor a little bit later on, you can see these people are excited to do business, excited to get out of the house, and more important, excited to be out here and rebuilding aviation all over again. I have the great pleasure of being accompanied today by Cyrus Akrati, Pilot Communications USA, and they kind of got our attention at Sun and Fun because they're talking about, oh, hey, cool headset. Okay, great, there's cool headsets. Carbon fiber, okay, carbon fiber is cool, but not the only game in town. 10 ounces. What? So at that point, you had our full attention, buddy.
Yeah.
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 Okay, you've got two headsets. One's passive attenuation, the other is using A&R.
Right.
And then you've got a distinctly capable Bluetooth system that goes with it. It's part of the headset, or it can be a standalone unit.
Right.
So give me the brief, Cyrus.
Yeah.
What's going on with Pilot Communications USA?
Right. Well, yeah, so we've been in the design of this headset for about 3 years, just trying to see, getting feedback from, customers and saying, trying to see what we can do to make it pretty much more comfortable for them and, provide less fatigue for those long flights. So we just wanted to make it as light as possible and really give it, some good ear seals with some memory foam on it. So we actually changed the ear seals as well to provide that leatherette memory foam feeling. And after a few flights, it'll just memorize exactly how, the shape of your ear is and all that good stuff. But yeah, we just really mainly wanted to bring something that could just provide comfort and give everyone an endless flight without, complaining about clamping pressure or anything like that. So definitely a solid headset, obviously really light, and it also comes with that BlueLink module on top of that headset. So a little 2-in-1 action there, which is pretty good. So can't go wrong with that.
Let's spotlight the BlueLink for a moment.
Okay.
When you're talking about 2-in-1, what are you talking about? Explain.
Right. So, well, besides the headset being, carbon fiber and light and all that, this is really where it comes down to, is this module. And in this module, we can connect two devices to this module, the Bluetooth module, and no one else is really doing that right now. So we can also have an iPad connected, for example, and an iPhone. So if you're paired up to your ForeFlight, you can still get notifications coming in from the iPad and still be, listening to your music from your iPhone. So that was the biggest part of it, was getting that two connections to it. And we also added a muting feature, which is the airplane mode and the mix, and then the off. And on that, we can pretty much just bypass any ATC. If you don't want to have ATC bothering you, you can just put it on off, which it won't, have ATC bothering you, so you can still have your music playing. And then that airplane mode will have them mute, or it'll have the device mute. So if ATC is coming in, you can hear what they're saying, not having the music override it. So.
Now, does it do that as a function of a different volume, or does it do it as a function of interruption?
I would say interruption. I mean, it's more just not getting interrupted.
Okay.
So it depends. You know, if you're just going on a cross country and you don't need a transmit or anything like that, you know, you just put it on the airplane mode.
There you go.
Because you don't want to you don't want them interfering with your music or anything like that. You're not communicating to them. So
okay.
Yeah, it's definitely for that reason. But yeah, besides that, I mean, we also made it interchangeable, so you can switch up to any cable. You can go to a helicopter.
Yeah, you can match it to a helicopter, you can match it to bows, you can match it quite a bit.
Right. So even military application as well. So it just really depends on what you want. So you can make it, you know, mix and match at that point. So really user friendly. You know, you can do whatever you want with it in any application. So, and we also put that record out feature as well, which I think is my favorite personally. You know, doing the GoPro recordings and stuff, recording your audio in. You know, saves less cords dangling around. It's just direct fit right into there. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a big feature of it. And if we can bypass those AA batteries by using that USB-C power input, so we don't even need to use the batteries if you don't like.
Okay.
So that's also different, and the record out is also new. So a few newer things than the old series Blue Link.
Well, this is what, Blue Link 2?
Blue Link 2.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Which is also a part of the headset, or you can just get it, you know, the individual device itself, which you can go to any GA headset, any helicopter headset, anything like that. So
getting this puppy down to 10 ounces, obviously that's a carbon situation and so forth, but carbon's not cheap, and you made it cheap, and you've got a price point of the ANR, the A1 in the $600, $650 range, is what I understand, which is kind of unheard of, because you move up to similar capabilities and you're paying $1,000 or more otherwise.
Exactly.
So they got to be beating down your door for this one.
Yeah.
How did you manage to keep it that light?
Well, we really just made everything on it, even all the way up to the frame. Even the bolt and the nut on that bolt is even carbon fiber. So I mean, every little bit of detail is really carbon fiber on it. Just trying to reduce that weight, even making the module of noise canceling a little bit lighter than our usual ones. So as I said, it was 3 years of design of just seeing what every little piece of it that we can make the lightest and save that weight. So
fascinating. Tell us a little bit about the company. Where are you all at?
So we're in Southern California, Irvine. We've been around since 1984. And you know, we focus on headsets, intercoms, adapters, microphones, and any type of accessory, and headsets like speakers and microphones, any type of parts and accessories.
Yeah, I noticed you've got quite a list of adapters and interconnects and so forth. So and do you stock all that, or you just build on spec?
We do a little bit of both. I mean, we have a good amount of stock already, but you know, depending on big orders, you know, we like to prepare.
We were looking down the list and we were sitting there going, hey, they got all the GoPro stuff too. And we're going, oh, darn. We need all that for Oshkosh. So, by the way, expect the order.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming.
There we go.
Nathan will be
calling
you with the credit card any day now. You know, that goes. Okay, so let's take a look at this now. The lightness is evident the minute you pick it up. You pick up an equivalent headset, it's significantly heavier.
Right.
But I like the way that it's been set up. You've got plenty of adjustments on the headband. And most important, the ear cups are wide enough to take care of dumbos like me. So it works pretty well from there. Tell me about the microphone.
Yeah, so we have a noise canceling electret microphone, and that was a big deal on it too. I mean, that right alone gives you the canceling on top of, you know, having noise canceling in the cups itself. So you're getting dual effects of noise canceling. So if you got some engine noise and all that, it definitely does significantly block that out a good amount. So, and also even up here, we went with a flat cable almost instead of a rounded one. So, you know, in case people are twisting them around and stuff, it doesn't get any tension.
Oh,
so,
wonderful. Okay.
Very, very little details that we, you know, wanted to make sure will benefit it in the long run. So, yeah, and it's got 5-year warranty on it, and it's...
Yeah, you were mentioning before that you've got warranty support or repair support for headsets that have been long out of production for decades. And it's nice to know that some people will back that up, because I've got more than a few orphan pieces of gear out there that have no way of
finding those parts,
repairs, or even a manufacturer anymore, the way some of that has gone.
Right.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so anything from 1984 we still support. I mean, even down to the screw. I mean, we got it all. So all the parts. So.
Interesting. Well, the whole industry, and I'm asking everybody about this, the whole industry just went through a hell of a year.
Right.
It was tough for a number of reasons. Traveling was difficult. Communication was difficult. Where you could work, how you could work, all that was difficult. How did Pilot Communications USA get through the pandemic?
Well, it was definitely a tough year, but we just kept our hopes high, and we kept working and trying to see what we can do to get out of this mess. I would still say mostly we had a couple months that were definitely tough, but surprisingly we had a few good military contracts were coming in, and we love supporting the military, so those were really helpful coming in. But we definitely did notice things were definitely a bit slower, but I think we still had other different type of clients that were still supporting us during that. So it could have been worse, but I think we still made it by.
Excellent.
Willingly.
How does the effect of this year change you as a company?
Affected this year?
I mean, everybody is coming out of this with individual lessons, ways of changing how their business is operated, how they're selling, how they're communicating, what have you. Has Pilot Communications changed, and will it change in the future?
Yeah. I think we're just really trying to definitely step up our marketing game, and really, because we have really good products that will benefit a lot of people, and we just want to push that on to the people and get that message out. So I would say it's definitely changing in the sense of just advertising and showing what we do best and what we got. So
well, the interesting thing, up until recently, you're kind of a secret to me.
Right.
And I like what I'm seeing. Matter of fact, I've got one of your headsets I'm going to be trying out on some L39 runs here pretty quick as soon as the weather clears.
Yeah, I want to hear about it.
Man, every time I was, well, come on out, fly with us, man.
I want to go on an L39.
Oh, I'm telling you. We were all out ready to fly the other day out of Cecil Field, and the weather is just totally crapped out. And we had two Marine Corps F-35 guys sitting in the FBO going, I'm not going out there. There was but no, they are not interested. It was tough. The birds were walking, if that tells you anything. So we're looking forward to giving it a good test, and we'll have that done by Oshkosh and let people know how you hold up. But what I'm hearing from people is pretty good. Where do you go in the future, Willows? Any plans, any ideas, any upgrades?
Well, we would always like to upgrade, but I mean, based off that, we're probably going to get some more feedback from people and see. We always listen to the customers. That's mainly what it is. Just listen to people and see what we can do differently. But as far as now, everyone's very happy with it, and if there's anything I could change, I don't know what I would change, honestly. We really thought about it for 3 years of just trying to see everything we could possibly do.
That's actually a really good answer. When you're at a point where I can't think anything better to do, that's when you know you're in the right spot at the right time. Excellent. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
And thanks for getting out here. I know for a fact that you had your own interesting aviation adventure just getting to Dallas.
Right.
Because the airline, the more I know about the airlines, man, the more a Cessna 172 looks good. And in some cases, you probably would have gotten here sooner. So there we go.
Probably could have been quicker getting here in a Cessna.
I'm telling you.
With the weather, but.
Probably had a nicer trip, too.
Yeah, nicer trip, literally.
Cyrus, we appreciate all your time joining us here on Aero-News and for the 2021 AEA Convention and Trade Show, the International, I keep missing it, International Convention and Trade Show. We'll be back in a few minutes. Cyrus Acrati from Pilot Communications. Mike Adamson, AEA boss, Supremo, is on deck. Mike's right around the corner. We got the better part of 40 minutes to hit him with everything. We're going to see if we can just really get the dirt from him. God only knows. So, for the moment, taking a break. AEA 2021, Hilton Anatole Convention Floor. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 64th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Dallas, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Aviation's #1 safety equipment manufacturer. New ELTs and safety products that activate life-saving rescues across the world. ELTs and safety products for every type of aircraft. General aviation, business jet, rotorcraft, commercial aircraft. Easy installation, affordable pricing, safety and reliability. Visit www.artex.com to view our selection of ELTs and safety products today. Artex, your best last chance.
The future of USB charging power has arrived. Introducing new ultra-fast charging TA360 USB chargers. Unlock the power of USB power delivery PD technology. Max power. Multiple configurations. In-seat, cabin, cockpit, and galley USB power. And a direct upgrade for all True Blue Power USB chargers, compatible with any USB electronic device. Easy to install. Backed by the best. True Blue Power, the USB experts.
Pilot Communications USA is proud to introduce our latest headsets, the Carbon A1 Active Noise Reduction and the Carbon P1 Passive Headset. Carbon fiber makes our headsets 30% lighter than others, which significantly reduces pilot fatigue. Our BlueLink hand control unit allows you to connect 2 devices at the same time, and the record out capability can send audio to an onboard camera or digital recorder. Get the headset that's so light you may forget you're wearing one at pilot-usa.com.
Okay, folks, we are back. It is the 2021 AEA International, get that in there, Convention and Trade Show, live from the Hilton Anatole in Dallas, Texas. We are finishing out our 3rd hour of live programming. We will start again tomorrow at 12 noon and finish up a little bit around 3. But let's get to the most important guy at the show. This is the boss, Mike Abbott. No pressure.
Right.
I mean, this is the guy who's responsible for everything here. If it goes right, it's everybody else's fault. If it goes wrong, it's his.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mike, I got to tell you, there's an energy and an excitement and a sense of continuity here that has been missing for the last year, and AEA is alive, and so is the industry.
Very much so.
I'm thrilled for you and with you, and we've been watching all this, and you and I have been talking over the last many months. Sometimes through funky little screens and this, that, and the other, and no live nothing. But AEA is obviously picking up where Sun and Fun left off. It's a bang-up show.
Yeah.
Tell us how the Aircraft Electronics Association and its community have survived a global pandemic.
Where do I start? Right? It's
You got 40 minutes.
It's unbelievable. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you to you and Aero-News for everything you do for us.
Oh,
the coverage, the help with the show leading up to it, the conversation, we're very thankful. We appreciate it. So thank you for that.
Well, I think you know that the partnership we have with AEA is our most valued, frankly.
Yeah.
We've built such a relationship with you and with Paulo's troops before, and going all the way back to Monty and the gang, and God bless. And this is, Oshkosh is cool and big and crazy, and Sun and Fun is cool and big and crazy, and AUVSI is cool and big and crazy. It's our favorite. This is our favorite.
It's my favorite too. I love all those others.
Yeah, but they pay you to say that.
they do. We support all those others. In fact, you mentioned Sun and Fun. We watched that very closely. That was the bellwether for in-person return.
Yeah.
And they did a phenomenal job.
They really
did. Just, we can pick nits on anything, but probably be able to do that here this week. But at the end of the day, the general aviation community is booming. We're soaring.
It's stepped up.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So the history, a year ago, 13, 14, 15 months ago, we stepped in front of a bullet, frankly. We were 2 weeks out from Nashville, ready to meet you guys there, and the next thing you know, we're calling our exhibitors and our members and saying, there's no show. And the carpet was yanked out from under us. And
Nashville was shut down everywhere. It was awful.
I mean, the city had already survived the tornado the week before, and and here we are staring this pandemic down, and had no idea it was going to do what it did last summer and into the fall and even into this year. But what was interesting, and I think I mentioned this in my opening the other day, is the second the official determination that transportation industry is essential, we did what we always do, and that's just regroup, refocus, figure out how to pivot, and get back to work. And our shops did, and so we took a couple months to sort of redo that, and everybody reevaluated their budgets and waited for other shows to kind of fall as far as the trade show business, and went back to focusing on upgrading aircraft. And I think we recovered in 2020 pretty well. The numbers bear that out. And conversation on the floor will bear that out as well. I mean, you talk to these shops and there was a lull for sure.
Yeah.
Some personnel issues. Not everybody was always healthy. So
at the beginning it was just, okay, what do we do now?
That's right.
It was more a sense of confusion than it was a lack of purpose.
Right, yeah. Everybody wanted to be at work, but you're dodging the guidelines and protocols that are smartly introduced to protect yourselves, trying to figure out your own health risks, and they're making those adjustments. So once that sort of was coordinated, and I would say by the middle of summer they were doing that, all of a sudden people want to upgrade their aircraft. And
now is the time.
And now is the time. No different than the people sitting at home, working at home, looking at their house, going, I want to upgrade something here. They're focusing on their airplanes and their other recreational vehicles. And so before long, we're back in action. The shops are busy. Changed a little bit, but the quote activity picked up, and the numbers bear that out for the end of 2020. So we're really, really fortunate that we have an industry as resilient as it is, essential as it is, for purposes even beyond recreation. I mean, there's many things we do in aviation that go beyond just the joy of flight, right? And
aviation was critical. I mean, how do you think all that the antivirals got around?
That's right.
Or the medical personnel. Aviation was not only a critical industry, it was an industry that was dedicated to participating in solutions.
Yep, 100%. Even so, these manufacturers on the show floor are shifting their production to helping out with ventilators and face shields and stuff. So it's just, I can't boast enough about our industry with regards to that.
It's fine by me.
How much time do we have? But
one more time for that, you can have it.
Yeah, we'll turn this camera around and focus it on the floor, and we'll find out. But
there you go.
It's it truly is. It's truly amazing, and we're just, there's many decisions that went into to get to this point, from our board of directors, our chairman, to look at what fits our schedule, what's going to be allowed from safety, health and safety protocols to pull this off. And yes, there's luck. But there's also a lot of really intense planning and tremendous support from our exhibitors and our shops and the attendees that are here. And we're so fortunate. We're so pleased. This has been fantastic.
Let's shift the conversation a little bit and talk about opening session yesterday.
Yeah.
and a hell of an MPI. But also just the overall tone, the people who were there. I mean, we had some serious players, and all of it was fun. Dave Salvador's intro to the MPI was cool. Of course, he's proud of what he does, but it was a sense that led all the way through MPI from there.
Yeah.
But also between your keynote speaker and some of the other presentations, boy, there was just a sense of determination from moment one.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you wonder when you take 2 years or, 2 years since your last new product introduction, but a year and a half, what's going to get developed in that time. And so you're curious to see that when we get to 34 companies launching different products. What are we going to see? You know, what have they been working on? And you know that's been happening, right? The engineering probably amped up like never before. And
well, you know what happens when engineers get bored,
right? And they don't have, you know, sales and marketing going to shows bringing them feedback. They can really dive into their projects, and so we expected to see that sort of energy with the new products for sure, and we saw that. And I think there's more to come. You know, we're what 4 weeks away from Oshkosh, and we know some big announcements are coming for that as well. So and to follow on with NBAA, so we're excited. It's all of those are good. We love when they launch them at our show for the dealers that are here. But we love watching them at Oshkosh and NBAA as well. So we're excited. I think it's just going to continue that same energy. So
well, I can't disagree with you at all, because we've been, since yesterday and today, talking to people, being all over the floor while we were chasing down our guest list and everything else. There were people out there proud to say what they were doing, how they were doing it. We have asked every single person who's been a guest here today how they were affected by the pandemic and how it changed them as a company.
Yeah.
And the answers are inspiring, because they're not losing the lessons. And even in some cases where they're talking about getting involved and things of that nature. And boy, if you aren't as proud of as Punch in this community, you're just not paying attention.
Right. I mean, like I said, the resiliency, their ability to shift and pivot and you know, change their businesses, deal with these things, the personnel issues and the challenges of their own health. I mean, it's unbelievable. You know, we're a safety conscious industry first. I mean, we're
paranoid safety conscious industry.
Right. And you know, we're obviously about cool gadgets and technology, but underlying is
paranoid cool gadgets and technology.
Right. But underlying in that is you know, what's inherent in what we do, and that is safety.
Yes.
So that was going to be the first thing. And once we figured out, which we do really well, how to adapt, you know, we're back in business. And I couldn't be more pleased with what I'm seeing on the floor, what I saw yesterday in the new products, and what's about to come. I'm excited for the industry. And there's other things down the road that we're not even, you know, yet talking about here.
Well, we'll get to it.
Okay.
We'll get to it. Don't tease me.
Okay. I thought I might throw that out there in case you were going to skip that today.
Yeah, no. You took over AEA just before the you-know-what hit the fan from an exceptional team with exceptional leadership. And Paula, wherever you are out there, we love you, and happy retirement, have fun. Sure miss you. But talk about a trial by fire.
Yeah.
I mean, yikes.
Yeah.
Can you get a little bit of the inside baseball experiences from the desk on this one?
I mean, Jim, what do you say? You know, I'm not the only one that experienced this, for sure. You know, if it was just our show, you know, I'd probably have a better story as far as that goes. But there's nothing special here. There's no secret sauce, other than what you said, the team.
Yeah.
We have a tremendous team. We have experience at every position, decades of experience at every position. So I'm the fortunate person that gets to be in front steering that.
Yeah.
But we have
or
autopilot.
the guy who takes the blame.
Or that too. And you know, I felt like with our cancellation, there's probably going to be a lot of questions. How is the association going to survive? You know, this is a third of our revenue. Mm-hmm. It's a big part of our business. We are in the trade show business. And we have smaller meetings called Connects throughout the year that we do internationally that are a very big part of our business as well, and all that shut down. But like everybody else, we looked at the digital options and how we could pivot, and we've got that ability in-house. And we shifted to that, and we served our members. Inside baseball, what it means to the staff, credit to them. They didn't miss a beat. We were able to conduct classes. We found out how we could be essential as well, even as a trade association. And so in July, we had to push a few classes back, but we opened our headquarters back up just for classes, figured out a way to keep everybody separated and masked and all that, and conducted training through the end of the year. So we were able to supplement some of what we do with that. And so, and that leads to people coming to our show. They come to our facility for training. It's world-class technical training in avionics, and they say, what else do you do? And oh, by the way, we have this trade show, or we can incubate your business as a repair station or a manufacturer, and they're here. They come to the show. So, yeah, there were some nervous times for sure, but we're resilient. The association is healthy. We've taken care of business for a number of years. We've made some smart moves financially. The board is very tuned into that, and so we had our rainy day fund and didn't have to take PPP. Very proud of that.
Same here.
Able to keep everybody on staff, and we sort of just hunkered down for a year and hoped that we could get to this day, and here we are.
There you go. Outstanding. How will AEA and the aviation community around you change as a result of the last year?
I think there's a few things, and I've had that conversation actually on the show floor. I think the ability to deliver content digitally and train and
yes,
and connect with your teams that are spread throughout. You've got sales reps all over the country. I think we've really figured out how to do that, right? Maybe to the point where we're all exhausted from it and ready to get back in person. I think that's evident here, but I think that will stick.
Yeah.
I don't know that virtual trade shows for this particular industry, in the way that we saw some of them go, are going to be anything close to what we're doing today.
With all due respect, what I saw was awful. I mean, compared to
yeah.
And to be truthful, aviation did better than most. We saw virtual trade shows for a number of other industries that were abysmal.
Yeah.
Because the one essential element that when people go to a trade show for more than anything else is that one-on-one question with a person you've been dying to get hold of, to see the product, to put your hands on it, those kind of things couldn't be done.
Yeah. I mean, I love the Zoom calls with you. I do. But this is a lot better.
No question about it.
And I think that's the thing. So I think there's pieces of that we learned and we like and we figured out. We bought the technology for. We positioned everybody to be able to do that, and that's great. And we're going to do that ourselves. I mean, we learned, cut our teeth on some of those things to deliver training. But this is proof that this industry has to gather, be in person, shake hands, network, and do all of that. So. There's probably some other things that will come out of it, but I think that's first and foremost is a nod to how we can use technology to improve our businesses, but still rely on face-to-face. The reason we have business jets, to get you to the customer, that doesn't go away, so.
And if you're using a business jet, there's a big sale at the other side of that you do not want to lose.
Yeah.
So, there. Interesting. The unmanned and autonomous industries are coming on strong. A number of your members are becoming major players and bigger by the day.
Yeah.
Is AEA equipped to be able to contribute to that speed of progress?
Very good question. Very good question. Were you in our board meeting?
Well, we have spies everywhere.
It's interesting you say that, because obviously we've got manufacturers that are working behind the scenes to inject their technology into those airframes. And how many are there? There's, if we're talking autonomy, it's autonomous. It's
and every
hundreds.
day is another $1 billion deal.
Right.
Of course, 90% of them never happen, but it's a 10% that does that's going to change the world.
And you want to be a part of it, right? So I think
oh boy, howdy.
I think there is definite buzz in the industry about this. There's interest from the association, from our members. The unmanned side, we're we're tapped into. Obviously, there's a network of our members that are already exposed to that. Advanced air mobility and sort of what's going on there. I think from the manufacturing side, sure. Operationally, not for us yet. However, we talk about these boxes that are going to be going in these airframes, and it's technology we're familiar with. You saw some introduction yesterday of trickle down, of flow down technology from some of those projects. So yeah, we're up to speed on that. I think we've got a few years before we're truly exposed to the maintenance side of it. So we're wait and see on some of it. From a staff standpoint, an expertise standpoint, yeah, we're going to have to evaluate what we can do to really bring those folks in, to this community. But it's going to happen.
It's going to be fascinating stuff. We're looking forward to right after, thankfully, just yet another addition to the schedule, but right after Oshkosh is Atlanta and AUVSI. Yeah. And I have to tell you, as you know, we produce AUVSI's Airborne Unmanned news program every week. And so we're keyed into a lot of those folks and what's going on and some of the things that are coming up as AUVSI is getting out of the virtual and getting back into the one-on-one world. But there's going to be some news made, and more important, the thing that we've learned about the unmanned community, it's not just a technical revolution, it's a social one. How we do things, who does what, becomes just part of our everyday life's experience. So it's going to be wild to watch. Yeah,
we're excited. I think this is, we talk about the next generation of people, technicians, pilots. I think that's where the real promise for that is. I think aviation's always had an appeal, right? Mm-hmm. But we've lived off of that fat for my entire career and many years before that. Just the sound, looking up in the sky, all of that. But this is different, and it's cool. And I think that unmanned helped significantly, and we'll continue to do that. Advanced air mobility would be another one because you potentially see it a little more closer to home, and maybe in higher frequency. It's gonna create interest, and big tech is in it, big money's in it.
Very big money, and there's about to be a lot more very big money.
Right, and they have the ability to attract, this next generation of talent. They do it on the software and engineering side already. I think we benefit from that no matter what happens. Absolutely. So
it'll be interesting to look at this floor in 5 years.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
That's one of the cool things about all the stuff we've done live over the years. We get a chance to go look back 10, now 12 years and see some of the things that were exciting at the time versus where we are right now. It's kind of a real interesting lesson in the history book.
It's amazing how fast it advances.
And I'm so glad we have all that, because at some point what'll be fun is just doing a historical compendium of this industry. Maybe by the time we get to year 20, we'll have to put Nathan to work and just jam through and see what's really
look back.
Yeah, it'd be kind of fun.
It's amazing. We were so fortunate because I think I've said it to you before. We have the coolest piece of this pie. This is where
all the cool stuff happens.
It's where all the cool stuff happens. No discount to what's going on in the airframe world. There's some pretty exciting things. Let's be honest. But you see the tangible change with the equipment and the technology here, now you're starting to see AI and virtual reality really play into it, and it's truly impressive. And you're just going to see that infiltrate the whole show floor.
Let me suggest another switch here. One of the things that has always been of concern to me as a flight instructor on the aviation side, of the flying side of things, is how we find, train, and prepare the next generation of pilots. It is equally important and critical, and in some cases even more critical, that the next generation of aviation and maintenance techs be properly found, empowered, trained, and equipped for this next generation of aviation, which is going to be a mind blower.
Right.
And I know this is something near and dear to your heart between the scholarship programs and everything you've done. Emote at will. Tell me all about it.
There's a lot of
right now, because you do have that background and you do have that passion, you do have that knowledge. And I think the criticality of that role from your past cannot possibly be overstated. I mean, it's just one of those things that's going to be driving you in the future and to be valuable at all the right times.
Yeah, yeah.
So, because
and we can't do it alone. We're a small staff and representative of the industry.
Never stop you guys.
I know. Well, that's true. But we have to leverage that in some of our partnerships with these other associations to lean on their expertise and some of the things that they do, to help us get our word out as well.
Are you getting that cooperation you need?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's our sister associations are fantastic, and they reached out. Of course, we all talked. While this was all going this last year, we talked quite a bit about how things are being handled and what each other can do to help, and they're fantastic at that, and they have a broader reach in some senses, and there's some things that we can help out with. The fact that we're in 43 different countries, we can lever some of that as well. It's not just a United States problem. This is international, and I think we are always focused on that, but I think we tend to forget that sometimes. It's not just our problem. This goes beyond our borders.
As a tangent to that issue, you cannot walk through an aviation event and not notice that it's the world's greatest collection of old white guys.
True.
Yeah, me prominently. At Oshkosh, we've started seeing more families. We've started seeing more people of color, but it's more women. It's certainly not enough. Are we being as properly, not crazily, but properly attentive to building an industry that reflects the rest of the world, or is there other things we can do?
Yeah, I think we're saying it for the first time in a while. I mean, we've kind of talked about that, but the trick is doing it. Are we doing something? And we've got our work cut out for us there as well. I think you're right. I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing on the show floor because it is certainly diverse, and maybe it's just me getting older, but a lot more people seem younger. There's some young faces out here, and they're energized about what we're doing, and they're excited about it. But yeah, we've got a lot more work, and we're fortunate to have Allison McKay from Women in Aviation who's here, and we were kind of talking about that last night at our event, about some of the things we can work on together. So there's good synergies there. We just have more to do, for sure.
I hear you.
Yeah, it is a problem.
What do you see right now, if you pulled out the official AEA crystal ball, the one I know Paula gave you when she left?
She handed it
the
off.
The lower right-hand drawer? Yeah. Where's the storms? Where's the trouble? Where are the things that have the potential to keep you up at night? What do we need to be looking for in order to avoid
this all over again?
Well, not I think the pandemic scenario was something that can't possibly repeat because we just lived it, and nobody's going to allow anything like that again, and we certainly learned a few things from it. But I mean, where are the trouble spots ahead for the aviation community? At what point are we going to run into something that's really going to tax us? Got any ideas?
Yeah, there's probably, there's things that are more in front of us from a supply chain standpoint, some of the obvious things.
Supply chains come up quite a bit today.
Yeah, so that's an easy answer, Jim. Down the road, I'm not sure. I think we'll continue to have this workforce discussion. I think we'll continue to have the diversity discussions and those things, but I don't know that those are choke points for what we just experienced. I will say, whatever it is, and I'm not going to look too deep into that crystal ball and try and foretell that. But
might actually see something.
I will say this: after this last year, we're more ready for it than we've ever been.
Oh,
and
of course.
I think the gut check from that has us looking at our business, evaluating focusing on what we do well, and deciding how to do better in the future. And I think a lot of people took a really good look at their business this last year and are better positioned for it.
Well, we did. Howdy, we are totally different than we were.
You're more nimble. You're more
Big
agile. You adapt to trends, and so you have a crystal ball.
We were radical to begin with. We're about to out-radical ourselves, and and to be truthful, I hate to say it, and good people suffer, but we got a kick in the you-know-what, and we needed it.
Yeah.
And changes everything.
Yeah, I think, the other thing is if you were to look at something and sort of guess on that, it's going to change before the end of the year.
Yeah.
You know, it moves so fast now. What you think is a thing today could be a non-issue in 6 to 9 months. So I think, you know, regulatory landscape, it's pretty quiet. You'll talk to Rick. He'll explain what's going on in that landscape. But it is.
We're going to grill Rick. I mean, come on.
I mean, take it easy on him.
No.
But I think he'd tell you there's things going on, and the administration's been very supportive of this environment.
Yeah.
They supported us this morning in our meetings, you know, even from headquarters, which is fantastic. But it is quieter, so we'll see how that translates. There's going to be issues that change.
One of the things we're wondering about is just how radical the change is going to be at FAA as a result of this.
Yeah.
Because our inside friends indicate that it's going to be radical, that it will be significant, and that they learned a lot of things they could do that they didn't think they could do, and they're happy with that. But there's a whole lot of stuff that didn't go well, and they're really scratching their head right now.
Yeah.
So changes will come.
How do you work in a resource-constrained environment?
Yep.
Right, with a room full of experts
With line item budgets,
with expertise and the technology that's coming at you that changes so rapidly. You're behind the curve on what they brought to you last year, and that's not a knock on their knowledge, skills, and abilities.
No,
that's just how fast it changes. That's that's just part of it. So
politics is normal.
Yeah. So there's that intersection will be interesting to watch.
I'll be darned. The NPIs you watched yesterday, what trends do you see? What technologies are the ones that you think we are all going to really need to watch?
Well, I mean, I think if you're looking ahead, I think we talked about a little bit with autonomous.
Yeah.
The flow out of that research and development to, you know, useful technologies today, connectivities even today, are I think the space to watch. And then, you know, add into that machine learning, AI, virtual. When we do get these chips,
oops,
that you know allow the computing beyond what we can even imagine, I think you're just going to see exponential growth in these systems that of course make it easier and safer to fly, but reduce pilot workload, more affordable options for everything down to the home builds, where a lot of really innovative technology takes place. And you're seeing that, our shops are focusing on that as well. So just an expansion from both sides of the market, up to transport category and what's going on there as well. So I'm excited.
Two final questions.
Okay.
What will AEA itself look like in a couple of years? All circumstances withstanding. And tell me a little bit about AEA Convention 2022 in New Orleans.
Okay. So you might have heard me mention we're on a strategic plan.
Yeah.
Right. And we're prolonged one because we started it during a pandemic. Thankfully, we didn't finish it before a pandemic because we'd be redoing it.
Yeah.
But
oops.
Yeah.
Next plan.
Exactly. So we're a couple phases into that, and we're really gathering good feedback and focusing on that with special committees and whatnot that are making recommendations to the board. But I talked about earlier, we have a pretty good formula, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yep.
So we're very, very aware of this and how well it works. At the same time, we know there's a lot of things coming up that we've got to be positioned for from a staff standpoint, from a technology standpoint, that we've got to get ready for. So we're walking a fine line here to not reinvent ourselves, but revolutionize ourselves, or maybe even evolutionize ourselves. Probably a better term, because it's just an evolving. It's not a complete redo. But that's important. That's going to be a big thing for us, and that's Gary, who can't be here. He sends his regrets. Would tell you that this is part of his, this is his legacy. His chairmanship ends in New Orleans, and he wants to have this strategic plan pressed and printed and final by the time he hands the gavel off. So when we get to New Orleans, there'll be new leadership on that standpoint, and I think you'll see a lot of this. I think we'll still be looking to reconnect There's going to be some folks that weren't here. We'll get our international contingent back, I hope.
That'll be wonderful.
It'll be tremendous, and we miss them. The energy around this show feeds off of all continents, but in particular, our international attendees. They bring an energy that's like no one else, and we miss them. I mean, you can tell, and we talk about them on the show floor. So
we really miss Trig and their bottle of scotch at the end of the show.
Yep.
Sorry, guys.
Spoke with Andy before, and he was ready to come, but obviously couldn't. And they've got a distributor that's supporting them, which is great, and they're able to do that. So we miss them, and I think that's the part of New Orleans. If everything else stays the same, technology changes, of course. If everything else stays the same, and we're adding back our international attendees, we're in great shape.
And New Orleans is a great location for this
spot.
show. We had a ball last time.
Good spot. Yeah.
Serious good time.
Yeah.
So, okay. Here's your chance to get back at me.
Okay.
What question didn't I ask that you wanted to answer?
Well, I mean, I think you've covered it. I think
snowed you.
I think actually what you didn't ask.
Okay.
I stopped by the registration desk before you got here. I thought you were going to hit me up with the numbers question.
Well, not to the end, but go for it. How's it look?
Well, so and I think it's important.
Since you mentioned it.
Right. Well, I think the thing is we're not a show that tens of thousands through the turnstile. That's not who we are. This is business to business. This is manufacturers, dealers, distributors, educators. It's a different
focus,
right? But Dallas is usually our record city. It is.
Okay.
And I think if you go back to 2005 when we were doing some repair station rewrites and the economy was booming, we had some pretty good years. 1,800 as far as attendance goes. When we left for Dallas this year, we were in line with our numbers for Vegas, sort of Nashville. I mean, we had international in there. You factor that out. But we were in line with 16, 17, and 18. So we're very pleased. We're going to be over 1,400. We'll probably report it slightly higher than that at the end of it because we're still taking registrations, today, tomorrow, through Friday.
Well, Crystal works under several names, so you can probably get her 3 or 4 times on the roster.
Yeah, well, there's some of that.
Okay,
good. So, and we're aware of that, but so we're just excited by the fact that we've met and exceeded our expectations.
Excellent.
If you added in the international, we'd be really blown away. So, really, really happy with that, and just thankful for the folks that did make it and supported the industry and supported the AEA.
Well, if I can say so, this is a record show. You guys have come back from horrible circumstances in an industry that got clobbered, that had to figure its way through all kinds of minefields. And the fact that everybody is here who can be and is doing business and working well and reporting positive results, if that's not record territory, what is?
Right.
So
we'll take
there
it.
you go.
Yeah.
Mike, as always, we appreciate your time and more important, your insights. You've been great to consult with over the last couple of years and staying on top of the things that are important, not just to AEA and the relationship we have with you as we work with you, but obviously through the community. But, and in the long run, I got to tell you, Paula was a very tough act to follow, but I think you're doing a heck of a job.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks, Jim, for everything.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
All righty, folks. Tell you what, it is the end of day 2. You put up with hours and hours and hours of us yesterday as we showed you all the goodies. NPI, 34 of them, of which I think there were almost 60 products represented. Mid-Continent alone was saying they introduced about 10. So it was a great day, and now we see from the floor the people who made yesterday happen, the results of a hard year's work to recover, and looking forward to a much better year and years after to recreate and to repopulate and rebuild aviation's future. For the Aero-News Network, I have to thank our team here, the man behind the curtain, Nathan Cremasino, who is the master of live streaming and does a spectacular job. Our videographers and camera team, Ra Rhodes, Crystal Knowles, who goes under a number of names, and that's the one I think is on the current wanted poster. We missed a couple of folks who couldn't make it out here, including one, God help us, who went COVID positive on Thursday, but she's going to be fine. And we're out here in force covering one of the most exciting aspects of aviation, and in partnership with an organization that has continued to impress us year after year. Most of all, my thanks to my better half, who frankly had to pull out a baseball bat now and then to get prepared. And we're here and we're working, and things, God help us, everything was where it was supposed to be. And I can't thank her enough for putting up with all my shinola and making sure that everybody here was prepared. So that's it for day 2, first day of interviews of live streaming. We will be back at 12 noon tomorrow. We've got a great start to the show. We've got a number of interviews already set up on deck, including some old fans and favorites. And we will see you from 12 to 3 tomorrow, and then a couple weeks later at Oshkosh. So for AEA, our partners and our friends and folks who inspire us daily, and for the Aero-News Network and my crew of crazies, we thank you for joining us. I'm Jim Campbell, Editor-in-Chief and guy who takes the blame. We'll see you tomorrow.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 64th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Dallas, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Pilot Communications USA is proud to introduce our latest headsets, the Carbon A1 Active Noise Reduction and the Carbon P1 Passive Headset. Carbon fiber makes our headsets 30% lighter than others, which significantly reduces pilot fatigue. Our BlueLink hand control unit allows you to connect 2 devices at the same time, and the record out capability can send audio to an onboard camera or digital recorder. Get the headset that's so light you may forget you're wearing one at pilot-usa.com.
Introducing the new ELT 345 from Artex. This emergency locator transmitter, or ELT, boasts an industry-low price, while providing the same quality and performance on which the Artex brand was built. GPS data is embedded within the first emergency transmission and provides search and rescue personnel with the aircraft location within 100 meters in less than a minute. Take to the skies knowing you have the highest performing and reliable equipment on board. View our selection of ELTs and safety products at www.artex.com. Artex, your best last chance.